One of the most profound movements and one of the first real social movement in American history was all about slavery. And that's labor. And it was about creating a different kind of democracy, different kind of way of thinking about the economy. And I think these battles aren't over. The African American portion of American wealth as a whole is 3% today. And the last time it was 3% was in 1868, 3 years after slavery. African Americans going back to before the Civil War, and the earliest African American spokespersons and writers and leaders like Frederick Douglass and others argued that the fundamental feature of the American economy was dehumanization. And they also argued that you can't have a democratic constitution and an economic system that degrades and exploits people. Many of the radical Republicans who fought for the Civil War and in the Civil War believed the same thing. I think the true intent of the 13th Amendment wasn't just to eliminate chattel slavery. It was to eliminate all forms of economic oppression and create what we would now call living wages for everybody. I think that was the true intent. But these things were overthrown. After the Civil War, there was a counter-revolution, Lincoln's assassination, the destruction of Reconstruction. We got segregation, which wasn't just about making white people feel superior, it was about a cheap labor force, which persisted. The 1963 March on Washington, where everyone sees Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream speech. Well, King wasn't head of that march. A. Philip Randolph was, the first black trade union president. The demand of the march was for jobs and freedom. Jobs came even before freedom. That sort of dream of a new kind of economy was tightly connected with thinking about voting rights and a new kind of politics. And when African Americans said we refuse to work as basically semi-slave laborers with no rights and no voting rights and no protections, and my generation said we're not going to do that work that our parents did, then employers started bringing undocumented immigrants into the country to work with no rights and no protections. And when the government said, well, what are we going to do with all these young folks like me who don't want to do this kind of semi-slave work? They didn't reform the economy. They said, let's lock them up. And we got mass incarceration. And so I think all of these things are related to our history. All of these things are part of the challenge of changing the system. And the system connects these things.
This is why you took a second job. Why you taught yourself how to fix the plumbing. Why you'll do whatever it takes to keep your home. And that is why we want to help. We are making home affordable, a free government resource that can make paying the mortgage easier. Call 888-995-HOPE today.
I wanted to find a bank with a purpose. I wanted to find a place that would take my money and not use it to cause the financial crisis, but to fix the financial crisis and to help end income inequality.
The people that we employ are usually clients right off the streets. They don't have an account, but Amalgamated is willing to get that started for them.
Their reputation supporting the working man, I think, speaks for itself. This is a bank that cares for their customers, and I appreciate that.
We were able to access a construction loan through the bank's programs, and that loan has helped us house 28 families in the community.
Amalgamated is a bank that was started for and about working people.
Many of our customers have a deep commitment to advocating for social and economic justice. We share that commitment, and we're not afraid to stand up and say that we need to change some of the way that the country does business.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
All right, I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay, so who's gonna do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect, that's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
For Mike Brown. I'm sick of writing this poem, but bring the boy. His new name, his same old body, ordinary black dead thing, bring him. And we will mourn until we forget what we are mourning. And isn't that what being black is about? Not the joy of it, but the feeling when you're looking at your child, turn your head, then poof, no more child. That feeling, that's black. Think, once a white girl was kidnapped and that's the Trojan War. Later, up the block, Troy got shot and that was Tuesday. Are we not worthy of a city of ash, of 1,000 ships launched because we are missed? I demand a war to bring the black boy back no matter what his name is this time. I at least demand a song. A song will do. Or a head.
You taught him how to hit a baseball.
Just like that. Say hi!
How to hit a receiver.
Nice.
The strike zone. The net. You taught him how to hit the upper corner. You even taught him how to hit the open man. But how much time have you spent teaching him what not to hit?
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
Broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
Yes, indeed, it is The Bill Press Show. Hello there. Welcome to this broadcast on a Thursday, March 3rd, 2016. My name is Peter Ogren, sitting in for Bill Press today. Bill's going to be out for a little while. He's over on the left coast doing a little bit of book promotion. See if I can get him to call into the show at some point while he's out. He ain't going to call into the show. Who am I kidding? He's sort of all over the place, but he'll be back with you a little bit later on. Don't worry. He'll be back. Thank you so much for tuning in. We got, oh my God, do we have so much stuff to talk about? Look at this. I got stacks of stuff all over the desk. I don't even know what direction to go, and we got so many things to talk about today. This is the season that we are in, ladies and gentlemen. This is where we are. 7 minutes past the hour. I'm going to be with you here for the next 3 hours on Free Speech TV and TawkrTV, Free Speech TV on DirecTV or Dish Network. And, of course, if you have an internet connection, you can watch us on YouTube, youtube.com/TawkrTV, TawkrTV is where you can find us. Of course, I cannot do the show alone. I am ably assisted by the team, led by Jamie Benson on the board. Hello, Jamie.
Good morning, Peter.
Good morning, sir. What's that grin you have on your face?
I'm just ready.
Well, you get like some grin on your face, like it's like you know something I don't.
Well, I do have something up my sleeve, but I'm saving it for later in the show.
Okay. All right, fair enough. I don't even know what that could be. I mean, I'm trying to figure out what you could possibly rib me about. Let's see. Yesterday, the national champion Alabama Crimson Tide football team was at the White House. I was there. I was very happy to be there.
We have audio of that.
Let's hear it. Let's do it.
Isaiah off the miss, goes the length of the floor, lays it up and in, score on the foul, and Isaiah has been all-star Isaiah from start to finish.
Look at this guy.
And the Celtics win.
Always with the Boston sports.
Right,
why don't you play some more of that great Boston sports legend, Kurt Schilling? Let's hear some of that. No, you don't want to do that?
Here.
Welcome to the White House. Roll Tide.
Roll Tide.
I guess for a lot of folks, it's welcome back. So let's give it up for the national champs, the Alabama Crimson Tide. I'd like to say I'll see you next year, but we've got this thing called term limits. You can keep on going.
It's so great because as soon as the team walked in, they all get up on the stage and everything. And then they announce the President of the United States, Barack Obama, and he comes in. And it's like the moment he gets behind the podium, the whole crowd just starts going, Roll Tide, Roll Tide, Roll Tide. Because, Alabama fans are just like the loudest crackers.
Well, they let you in, didn't they?
Yeah, Press and Company included. And so Obama finally just like, what? Roll Tide. It was great. I'm going to talk more about that a little bit later on. Give us a call, by the way, 866-55-PRESS, 866-557-7377. Ray Rogers is standing by to take your calls. And I mentioned we are on TV. We are on TV because Cyprian Bolding is here, keeping us looking good. So thanks so much for tuning in. Yeah, I mean, Jamie, the Alabama was at the White House yesterday. The Spurs won their 38th home game in a row last night against the Pistons. That's the fourth best home record all time.
Pretty good sports day, Peter.
I'm having a really good.
I had a pretty good sports day too.
Nationals won yesterday, and
everybody's watching spring training.
Spring training ball. So a lot of good stuff going on. I'm going to jump right into the show. By the way, you're going to want to watch this show. We've loaded this show up with some talent. We've got Susan Page, who's joining us a little bit later. In the next hour, Ariel Edwards-Levy, a first-time guest from the Puffington Host, Congresswoman Brenda Lawrence, and our good friend Jay Newton-Small, all going to be on the show today. By the way, how about Ladies' Night? An all-female guest list for
I didn't realize that. That's great.
Yeah. I mean, I don't see gender, I don't see color.
Right.
But I am happy that we've got the ladies. I love ladies. I have all their albums.
Especially with two dudes stinking up the
I know.
the joint right now.
No, look, I love to surround myself with smart women. That's that is the secret to life, my friend. That's no joke. All right. Donald Trump continues. I know. I know. Like, it's funny because we used to get all this grief from people when we talked about Donald Trump. Like, oh, you're giving this guy too much credit, or oh, this guy is just a flash in the pan. No, he is the front runner and presumptive nominee, as far as I'm concerned. But we're going to talk about Donald Trump because the Republicans finally, they see, oh, crap, we've got a real problem here. And there are a couple of things I want to hit on as we talk about this because, this Joe Scarborough guy, this dummy, he hosts this show over on MSNBC. We never watch it. But he writes this whole big thing, and he says that he calls it the Donald Trump hostile takeover of the Republican Party. There's nothing hostile about it. He was welcomed, greeted with open arms by the Republican Party. There was no hostile takeover. They wanted him in the fold. They wanted him in the mix. Mitt Romney stopped his campaign when he was running for president to go out and kiss that Donald Trump ring. And now they're going to act like, oh, well, we could have never seen this. We had no idea. It's just, it's completely blindsided us. BS. If you want to give Donald Trump all this grief for being a terrible candidate and being a terrible human and being a racist, which all deserved, by the way, if you want to do that, you have to point the finger right back at Reince Priebus and all the other leaders of the Republican Party because they wanted him. They greeted him. They gave him a warm embrace. Harry Reid, by the way, yesterday made this point. Harry Reid, he knows that this isn't just some hostile takeover.
Trump is the GOP's Frankenstein monster. If Republicans fail to stop Donald Trump, he'll tear the party apart even more than it is now.
Okay, so here it goes. We've got to launch an all-out offensive on Donald Trump. Republicans have had enough. They're fed up. They got to take down Donald Trump. They got to hit him with the heavy artillery. They got to go full-scale warfare. Scorched earth, baby. So you know what they're going to do? Shock and awe. They're bringing out Mitt Romney.
And we have the first excerpt from the Mitt Romney speech.
You have it there? Can you read it for me?
Mark Halperin making this public just a few minutes ago. Quote, Donald Trump is a phony, a fraud. His promises are as worthless as a degree from Trump University. He's playing the American public for suckers. He gets a free ride to the White House, and all we get is a lousy hat.
Okay, that is not going to work. And I'll tell you why it's not going to work. Because it's coming from Mitt Romney. I mean, Mitt Romney is the best you've got. Like, that is the state of the Republican Party. They need the seasoned elder. They need the person who can speak directly to the base. They need the person who can unite the party, bring them all together, speak some common sense. The fringe groups that are out there on the outskirts of the Republican Party need to be made and feel welcome within the party. And the best they got is Mitt Romney.
Soda Pop Soft.
Soda Pop Soft.
That's what I'm going to call him from now on.
Boom. Like, that's crazy to me. That like, when you look at the offensive that they're throwing at Donald Trump to try and stop him, which, first of all, should have come 9 months ago. Like, am I crazy? I'm not even any kind of political analyst. Like, if you really wanted to stop Trump, you maybe should have put an effort in when he was, I don't know, leading every poll in the country for, 9 months now. But now that he's got over half the delegates that he needs to get the presidency, oh, crap. Oh, we should maybe take this guy seriously. We should maybe do something about this. Listen to the cavalcade of losers that they are bringing out to fight Donald Trump. Mitt Romney's coming out today with a big speech, right? They brought out Lindsey Graham, I like Lindsey Graham. Republicans hate Lindsey Graham.
He may be in a position where I have to rally around Ted Cruz is the only way to stop Donald Trump.
So he's willing to vote for a guy like Ted Cruz to stop Donald Trump. A man that Lindsey Graham at the congressional dinner that we went to last week said, if you murdered Ted Cruz on the floor of the Senate and you were tried by the Senate, you would be found not guilty. The people in the Senate, senators, they hate Ted Cruz. And Lindsey Graham will rally behind Ted Cruz just so that it's not Donald Trump. You know who else they brought out? Tom DeLay. Tom effing DeLay, a criminal, a full-blown criminal, a blast from the past who most people don't even remember, frankly. But these are the big guns that the Republicans have to call Trump out.
I think he could do great damage to the party. He already has.
Dope.
The infighting that's going on within the party is not helpful. But when he becomes president, if he becomes president, and he starts governing, the first thing out of the box, he wants to appoint someone like his sister, who's a pro-abortionist, to the Supreme Court.
Okay.
That would split the party right down the middle.
Yeah, Republicans are really going to rally around this guy. Guy used to be an exterminator. Is
that true?
That's true. He used to be an exterminator. That's how he ran on. That was a big part of his campaign. Guy's a hayseed and a criminal. Yeah. Oh, that'll do it. Yeah. Tom DeLay's really gonna turn the tide in the favor of voting against Trump. I just find this to be so amazing. 866-55-PRESS. 866-557-7377 is my telephone number. You can also find us on Twitter at BP Show and at Peter Ogburn on Twitter. Come on, find us on Twitter. It's a fun thing to do, right? But it has me thinking, what's our role in all of this, right? As progressives, what's our role? And we're going to be talking to Jay Newton Small from Time Magazine a little bit later on, but she has a great piece. And the headline is, Democrats salivate and shudder at the prospect of Trump. Now, I've got a little angel over here and a little devil over here, and I'm listening to both sides. And I hear one side, the angel, say, Donald Trump is a racist, misogynist, horrible human being. Even the Republicans don't deserve a guy like Donald Trump, even though they did ask for him. Maybe we feel like for the good of humankind, we should help defeat the evil force of Donald Trump just so that he doesn't even come anywhere close to the White House. Because if he gets the nomination for the Republican Party, which I believe that he will, but if he gets that, that's bad news for everybody. I know that Republicans fear that he's going to lose, but that's bad news for everybody because he's going to plant the seed to more, burgeoning racists around the country. But at the same time, he's that close to the White House. He's one vote away from the White House, and that should be terrifying. But at the same time, I've got the little devil over here saying, screw the Republicans. They wanted this. They asked for this. This is what their dopey party deserves. This is what they get. When you lay down with scumbags, you're going to get fleas. And this is what Donald Trump is, right? This is what the party has asked for. So I go back and forth with this, and I need to hear your take on this at 866-55-PRESS, 866-557-7377. Do progressives, do Democrats owe the Republicans help in defeating Donald Trump? Do progressives owe the country the opportunity to get Donald Trump out of the spotlight, send him packing to whatever abyss he came from. 866-55-PRESS. And if we're going to do that, and if Republicans are going to beat him, how do you do it? It's not with Mitt Romney. It's not with Tom DeLay. It's not with Lindsey Graham. It's not with Mitch McConnell. It's not with Paul Ryan. These are the only people who have come out and really said this. It's not with what's the guy that's under Ben Sass who came out. Right? What's it going to take? What would it take to get Donald Trump out of that front-runner status? It's your turn to weigh in on this, and I got to have your calls. 866-55-PRESS, 866-557-7377. Very quick break. We'll be right back talking to you.
Get social with Bill Press. Like us at facebook.com/Bill Press Show. This is The Bill Press Show.
Today, in this country, we are having a conversation about police violence, the killing of black men, and what all that means. It is sad that this is happening and that every day there's a new incident to cause us to keep thinking about it and talking about it. But it is extraordinary that the American people are having to deal with this every day, whether you're watching CNN or MSNBC, Fox, or ABC News. All the news channels are talking about police violence and what does that mean against black people. Many people probably look at that, certainly have looked at it in the past, and they have said that these poor black men are doing bad things, and that's why they are ending up in confrontations with police without any understanding of their lives of these poor black young men. Part of what has been going on for decades is that poor black people live in communities that suffer from hyper surveillance of the police. The police are more likely to be in their communities. The police are more likely to arrest them. The police are more likely to stop them even if they're not doing anything. And that is what is so hard for the American people to believe, that you would get stopped and searched and arrested by the police and not doing anything. But this is starting to come out as people are telling the stories over and over again. But this has been the condition, this hyper surveillance by police, making it more likely for people to get a record, to be known by the police, and then once they get in the system, it is almost impossible to get out because of the whole system of being on parole and missing an appointment or fraternizing with a person who has a criminal record, getting you right back in the jail, and then going back again and again and again. This is coming to be seen by the American people in a way that it has never been seen before. But why are people in these communities in the first place? That's getting peeled away. People are there because of housing discrimination. They are there because this is the only place where affordable housing can be found. They are there because that's where their families live, and people are drawn to being in communities where they are comfortable. The combination keeps people in these low-income communities where they are an easy target for hyper-surveillance and then everything that comes from it. And so as we think about these issues, we have to understand that while you as an individual in this society, as a white individual, you may not carry personal racism, but that does not keep the system from operating in a racist way.
I grew up in the housing projects of Cleveland. I didn't even know that life could be any better than it was. Education for me has been a way to get away from the agony of what was normal life. I want to be able to impact the community, not just look back on where I came from, but to reach back to where I came from and pull some people up with me. My name is David, and I am your dividend.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Bill Press Show, 25 minutes past the hour. My name is Peter Ogburn, sitting in for Bill Press today. We're talking about Donald Trump. Whether or not Democrats, progressives owe it to the country to try and keep Donald Trump out of getting the nomination. Or, frankly, you can just call in and let me know whether or not you're excited as a progressive, whether or not you're excited to see Donald Trump as the nominee. Is that good for Democrats or bad for Democrats? By the way, our number is 866-55-PRESS, 866-557-7377. We said farewell yesterday. We said farewell to Ben Carson. He is no longer with us. Although, of course, Ben Carson would drop out in the weirdest way possible. This is his statement. Listen to what he said. As one of my most dedicated supporters, I wanted you to hear this directly from me. I have decided not to attend the Fox News GOP presidential debate tomorrow night in Detroit. Even though I will not be in my hometown of Detroit on Thursday, I remain deeply committed to my home nation, America. That is the Ben Carsoniest way to put, I ain't running anymore. I have remained deeply committed to my home nation, America. He says he does not see a political path forward in light of the Super Tuesday primary results, but he says that he's not suspending his campaign. He just doesn't see a path forward. All throughout today's show, we'll be playing highlights, best of Ben Carson's. Can I play the one where he talks about how he was full of energy? Just the very first one, Jamie, because this was early on in the campaign. People said he was low energy.
I have plenty of energy. I just don't necessarily run around jumping and screaming and pounding my fists.
I will miss Ben Carson.
Who will you miss more, Jeb Bush or Ben Carson?
You know, I got to be honest with you. I will miss Ben Carson more. I will miss Ben Carson more only because, Jeb at least hid behind the thin sheen of, I know what I'm doing when it comes to politics, right? He was dopey and had some sad puppy dog moments. But, Ben Carson, this was the biggest, this was the most thinly veiled book promotional tour I've ever seen in my life, him running for president. Right? Guy never thought he was going to be president. Guy never actually wanted to be president. He wanted to sell books. I'm sure he sold a lot of books. I'm glad that this farce is finally over. We've talked about it many, many times, how running for president is just good for business. So, farewell, Ben. See you later, buddy. I will miss him. But we're going to talk to a guest in the next hour about sort of his voter base, right? Because there were Carson voters. There were people who voted for Ben Carson. He was the only man who came anywhere close to Donald Trump. He was beating Trump in a national poll at one point, lest we forget. 866-55-PRESS is our phone number. My name is Peter Ogburn. Standing by. Give me a call. Talk to you soon.
This is the Bill Press Show.
You taught him how to hit a baseball.
Just like that. Say hi.
How to hit a receiver.
Nice.
The strike zone. The net. You taught him how to hit the upper corner. You even taught him how to hit the open man. But how much time have you spent teaching him what not to hit?
calls me googly eyes.
You know you're beautiful, right? You know that?
Even you are beautiful. I got bullied for wearing glasses. Share if you're against bullying.
We put it out there, just took off. 3 million people have shared this post. Don't let bullies get you down. I stand with you. The whole family's wearing glasses. I wear glasses and I'm proud.
I even have the army on my team.
All the kind comments brought my child joy. I don't feel thank you is enough.
Thanks.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
Seen on Free Speech TV and online on TawkrTV. This is the Bill Press Show.
It is the Bill Press Show. 33 minutes past the hour. I am Peter Ogburn, sitting in for Bill Press today. I got the whole team with us. Jamie Benson, Ray Rogers, Cyprian Bolding. All we need is you. Ladies and gentlemen, 866-55-PRESS. 866-557-7377 is our phone number. We're talking about Donald Trump. And I'm asking a couple of questions. Number one, do we as progressives owe it to the country to defeat the evil forces of Donald Trump? I think that there is a real argument that Donald Trump transcends politics. He is not just an evil Republican. He is just an evil human. And should we join forces with the Republicans to try and take down this force of dark evil, which I think is a legitimate thing to say. But at the same time, I go, you know, these guys, they wanted Donald Trump. They asked for Donald Trump. They courted him and took him out, and now that they finally got him, now they don't want him anymore. Mitt Romney's going to be giving a big speech. Lindsey Graham, Paul Ryan, Mitch McConnell, all these people, they're all coming out now. Now they want to take down Trump. So my question is, should we join forces? Should we try and take down Trump and vanquish him forever from politics? Or should we let Republicans just handle this on their own? And if they do, how the hell do you get rid of Donald Trump? Let's go to Larry in Burnsville, North Carolina. Hello, Larry.
Yeah, how you guys doing?
Good, man. What's popping?
I tell you what, we should not help the Republicans. Did they help Barack Obama? They offended Barack Obama for 7.5 years, and they offended me personally because I voted for him, and millions of Americans did. And he tried to pull this country out of an absolute mess caused by Republican inattention to detail and recklessness, both economically and internationally. We all absolutely, he's our best gift that ever happened to us, the Democratic Party. And to tell you something else, they're going to strengthen that guy by attacking him.
Yeah,
they're crazy. They're stupid.
Look, Larry, I think that is a dynamite call because you're right. You're right. When you hear of, Republicans now have a problem with Donald Trump, where the hell were they when their supporters were saying that Barack Obama, by the way, led by Donald Trump, that Barack Obama wasn't even an American citizen? Yeah, that's right. Where were the Republicans when they were saying, when people were saying that Obamacare had death panels? Where did the Republicans stand up and say, okay, this has gone a little too far? Did anybody call for that? Nope. Good call, Larry. Rose from Ligonier, Indiana. Hello, Rose.
Hi, morning, Peter.
Good morning, my darling. What's up?
The media also gave him all this free time. He buffaloed them from the beginning, saying, well, if you don't treat me right, I'll go as a third party. And they're still hanging this up around their neck.
Yeah. Yeah. We could spend all day on that whole thing, Rose, because nothing drove me crazier than this Joe Scarborough guy when he's saying, oh, this is a hostile takeover of the Republican Party. And everyone's going, oh, good for Joe. He said that the comments about the KKK were disqualifying, that Donald Trump can't be president because of that. BS. Get out of here with that. Nobody gave Donald Trump more free time to just come on and spout his racist garbage than Joe Scarborough. So save it. Get out of here acting like you're some sort of a victim that's been taken over by a huckster. Don't come to me crying. This is your bed. Now lie in it. Alice from Linden, Washington. Hello, Alice.
Hello.
Good morning. Thank you for calling. What's your take on this?
Well, I'm up here on the western border, and we have a lot of signs up yet for Carson, and a lot of people were thinking he was going to be the serious one who was not just crazy and had some values, and so now he's gone. But we do also have Trump backers around here in our paper interviewing people, and it's very interesting. And Loretta Lynn, who lived in our county for a decade, I see she's come out for him. It's very interesting.
Wait, Loretta Lynn?
Yes.
No, the singer?
Yes.
No, she's supporting Donald Trump?
Yep.
Oh, break my heart, Alice. I love Loretta Lynn.
But I just read last week the Jane Mayer's Dark Money, and I've got my son and husband and all my friends reading it, because talk about a hostile takeover. These DeVosses and Kochs and Melanscapes and people that would gather with celebrity things and bring in all the things, and had a hostile takeover of the whole Republican Party until they got to the place, after 2012, were bragging they had more. All right,
I'm just going to break in here, Alice. You got a lot of good stuff to say. I'm just going to move on from all that. From all that, but the issue of Donald Trump, I think Larry hit the nail on the head. Should we help Republicans? Should we help bail them out of this? Hell no. Where were they when we needed them the most? Where were they when racist nonsense was being thrown around about the President of the United States, Barack Obama? They were nowhere to be found. Nowhere to be found. So now you get to this question of what do Republicans do? I got to tell you, I think they're stuck with Trump. I think that everybody hates... Look, we can all agree. Ted Cruz is a rubber-faced loser who nobody likes. I mean, maybe that's... I don't want to go too far with it. But no, literally nobody likes Ted Cruz. He has literally zero support.
He did an interview yesterday. I don't remember if it was with NBC or CBS, and the interview started off by saying, "You're one of the least likable politicians in this country," and he acknowledged that. He's gotten to a point where he acknowledges that because he realizes that there are a faction of Republicans that say, well, he sucks, but Trump sucks harder.
Man, that is like Sophie's choice for Republicans, right? Embrace Ted Cruz or embrace Donald Trump. Holy crap. Ted in Ann Arbor, Michigan is giving us a call. Hello, Ted.
Yes.
What's your take on this?
All right. In a family that has modern family with gay, Jewish, black, and Hispanic people,
yeah,
I say the only thing we can do to help ourselves and the Republicans is to unite, because their next choices want to make being gay illegal and want to put up a modified wall. I think that's the way we help them, is by winning. And we must unite. There must be no more internecine battles.
Make no mistake about it, the three remaining candidates, of the three that are left, Rubio, Trump, and Cruz, Donald Trump is probably the best on gay rights. And that is not a badge of honor for him to wear, right? Like, his stance on gay rights are horrible. But you look at these other two wackos. You know, Marco Rubio said he would find judges to get rid of the approve of same-sex marriage. You know, Ted Cruz is certainly not shied away from hating homosexuals.
Trump is better on gay rights and women's rights.
Yeah, Trump will actually acknowledge that Planned Parenthood does good things. The other guys acted like, you know, he brought a dead hooker on stage when he said that line. Everybody freaked out. Oh, we got to take care of women. No, they freaked out that he said Planned Parenthood does good stuff. Anyway, 866-55-PRESS is my phone number, 865-557-7377. Let's take one more call from our dear friend Mim in Stony Brook, New York. Hello, Mim.
Hello, Peter, my dear friend.
Oh, my darling.
Listen,
it's so nice to talk to you.
Did you ever read Huckleberry Finn?
I did. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, remember the king and the duke, the two con men, the snake oil men?
Sure.
Okay, that's what he is.
Yeah.
I think leave him alone. Let the Republicans stew in their own juice.
Yeah.
They created this monster, and they're welcome to him.
I like our callers. Our callers are vengeful callers, which is great. I think it's wonderful. I don't disagree. I told you, I wrestled back and forth with this. I think I'm fully in the camp of let him die on that hill. You wanted this guy? You got him. 43 minutes past the hour. You can give us a call at 866-55-PRESS. You can find us on Twitter at BP Show. Going to take your calls, your comments all throughout the program. But, of course, next we're talking to our good friend, Susan Page. Stay tuned. It's the Bill Press Show. Peter Ogburn sitting in for Bill Press.
Your place to talk about the 2016 election. This is the Bill Press Show.
A letter to the girl I used to be. Dear Emily, every time I watch baseball, a voice I no longer recognize whispers, Ethan, do you remember? When you were going to be the first girl to play in the Major League Seattle Mariners rally cap. But to be honest, Emily, I don't. Dad told me that like it was someone else's bedtime story. But I do know you had that drive. Didn't let anyone tell you to wear shorts above your knees. Didn't care if boys thought your hair fell on your shoulders just right, but with girls, sleepovers meant the space between your shoulder and hers was a 6-inch fatal territory. The year you turned 11 was the first time you said out loud that you didn't want to live anymore. In therapy, you said you wouldn't make it to 21. On my 21st birthday, I thought about you. You were right. At 19, you started to fade. I tried to cross you out like a line in my memoir I wished I could erase completely. And maybe I'm misunderstanding the definition of death, but even though parts of you still exist, you are not here. Most of my friends have never heard your name until now. I've been trying to write this letter for 6 months. I still can't decide if it should be an apology or not. But now you will never hear Emily Smith announced at a college graduation. Get married. Give birth. When the prescribed testosterone started taking effect, my body stopped producing the potential for new life every month. I thought about your children, how I wanted them too. Now, I let a doctor remove your breasts so that I could stand up straighter. Now, even if I somehow had those children, I wouldn't be able to nourish them. My body is obsolete, scarred cosmetic, but never C-section. I was 4 days late. There will never be grandparents. I was 1 week late. They will never hold their lover's sleeping figure. I was 11 days late. They will never breathe in a sunset and a sunrise in the same night. I was 2 weeks late. They will never learn to jump rope. I was 3 weeks late. They will never shout, "Watch, Mommy, watch me on the slide." I was 2 months late. A piece of us will never wrap their arms around our leg for comfort, but just to keep them from falling down. And I am sorry that this process is so slow, and all you can do is wonder if you ever had a place. You did. You still do. Don't forget that. Yours, Ethan. P.S. I never hated you.
Streaming live video right now at youtube.com/TawkrTV. That's TAWKR-TV. This is The Bill Press Show.
It is The Bill Press Show, 47 minutes past the hour. My name is Peter Ogburn, sitting in for Bill Press today. Bill is out on the West Coast doing that book promotion thing for Buyer's Remorse, his latest book. So you'll see him on TV. You'll see him on the West Coast. Make sure you're following him on Twitter at BP Show. Keep you abreast of all of his dates where you can find him. But in the meantime, you're stuck with me. And boy, I would never turn down the chance to chat with our friend Susan Page, Washington Bureau Chief at USA Today. Hello, Susan.
Hey, good morning, Peter.
What a wild week, right?
Listen, Donald Trump is a gift that just keeps giving, at least to journalists.
That's true. That is true. And later on today, we're going to see the big counterattack by Mitt Romney to try and take Donald Trump down a notch. You think that's going to work at all?
You know, you look at the nature of Donald Trump's appeal, his ability to draw in new voters, especially less educated white men, and you think, yes, these are Mitt Romney's natural peeps.
Yeah, right. Right.
I can't imagine that Mitt Romney criticizing Donald Trump will have any effect. And for another thing, the things are going to attack Donald Trump for, like being brash and saying intemperate statements, I think these are things voters are pretty much aware of already.
Yeah, exactly. And it's one of the things that Donald Trump voters actually like in him. So to try and paint them in a bad light, I don't think is going to work very well. I also find it curious that, you know, they're sort of starting this attack on Donald Trump. You saw Paul Ryan, Mitch McConnell, Lindsey Graham. Even Tom DeLay is out there saying that Donald Trump would cause great harm to the party. And that's a guy that knows about doing great harm to the party. Yeah. So he can speak with some authority on that. And then, of course, Mitt Romney. And I think to myself, where were these guys 7-9 months ago?
That's right. This is pretty late in the game. Donald Trump has a running start toward the nomination. And even though they are now going to have financed a big ad campaign against him in Florida, and that seems to me to be a smart thing. That's a big contest. It'll matter in 2 weeks. So if he lost in Florida, where he's now leading, that might be cause a kind of a hiccup for Donald Trump. It does seem like, and they have not yet coalesced with any unanimity behind an alternative. Rubio's the leading one, but Cruz is the guy who's won the most races against him so far. So it's and there's no sign that John Kasich is getting out of the way. So this there may be a path to blocking Donald Trump, but it would take the kind of coordination and sophistication and skill that we haven't seen from the opposition so far.
Yeah, exactly. Meanwhile, on the other side of the aisle, we have the Democrats. A huge night for Hillary Clinton on Super Tuesday, and not a bad night for Bernie Sanders. Won a couple states. The math for him moving forward gets a little more difficult, though, right?
Gets tough. I mean, he's got the money to continue.
Sure.
I know that. I assume he will continue. He says he will. I think he'll win some more states, as she did 8 years ago.
Right.
And of course, Hillary Clinton does not really have the standing to insist that Bernie Sanders gets out of the race. She stayed in the contest till the end, till the last primary last time. She didn't get out until June, even though numerically it became more and more difficult for her to see a path to winning the nomination. But it is hard to see him doing that. What he can do, though, is raise the issues he cares about and hold her feet to the fire on some of those.
Yeah, I agree. All right, let's come back to the conservatives for just a moment, because this weekend is CPAC, and you talked to Matt Schlapp, the head of the whole thing, the host. What should we expect out of CPAC? It's going to be very interesting because Donald Trump will be there.
You know, Matt Schlapp, who I talked to for Capital Download, said that this is kind of a Ted Cruz audience. They have a straw poll that comes out on Saturday. He said you'd expect Ted Cruz to do well. But he had pretty opening, welcoming remarks to say about Donald Trump. He said, in his judgment, there is a 75% chance that Donald Trump goes to the convention with enough convention delegates to claim the nomination on the first ballot. And he also said that this effort by big donors to block Trump, he doesn't think will be any more effective than their efforts so far to say, elect Jeb Bush. And Matt Schlapp is head of the American Conservative Union, which sponsors CPAC. He's also a former political director for George W. Bush in the White House, so he has some of these establishment credentials to look at this. But he says maybe we ought to give Donald Trump a chance to make his case.
Oh, wow. That's going to be interesting. We will certainly be watching it. Thank you so much, Susan. I appreciate you joining us.
Hey, thank you, Peter.
All right. Susan Page, she is the bureau chief for USA Today here in Washington. You really should go follow her on Twitter at Susan Page. She's just a delightful follower. One of the smartest people here in #ThisTown. We'll be right back. Peter Ogren in for Bill Press. Stay tuned.
Your progressive headquarters for the 2016 election. This is The Bill Press Show.
So you're drowning in student debt, and it looks like there's no way out. Have you considered bankruptcy? Of course not. It's a dirty word, and everything you've heard says students can't file anyway. It didn't start that way. Bankruptcy laws were enacted in the 19th century to give people a fresh start. But not all debt is created equal. Take this, for example. We have you, your buddy Carlos, and your Grandma Lucy. Carlos got laid off. His credit card debt was too much to handle, so he filed for bankruptcy. Will totally screw his credit, but at least he can start fresh, and after 10 years, his credit report should be fine. Grandma Lucy's home lost half its value. Now her mortgage isn't worth paying back. She says F it and decides to file for bankruptcy too. Then there's you. You didn't land that dream job, you're struggling to make ends meet, but the interest just keeps piling up. With a broken heart, you've written off the possibility of buying a home, having kids, and getting married because, hello, who wants to deal with your crazy baggage? But in reality, you want those things, and your education was supposed to get you there. Now you need a fresh start, just what bankruptcy was intended for. You try to file, like Carlos and Grandma Lucy, and that's when you realize it's not as easy for you as it was for them. In the 70s, Congress worried that students were using bankruptcy to abuse loan programs. That wasn't quite true. Still, over the years, Congress gradually stripped student debtors of their options. The Bankruptcy Reform Act of 1978 was even called discriminatory toward students by the chairman of the subcommittee. Student debt was singled out and lumped with criminal debts. Today, if student debtors try filing for bankruptcy anyway, they'll need to prove their debt imposes an undue hardship. But who's to say what qualifies as an undue hardship? Even some judges have said they don't get it. This lack of clarity in the law could work in your favor. A Harvard researcher discovered in 2012 that few students actually try to discharge their loans through bankruptcy. Of the students who filed for bankruptcy to settle other debts, only 0.1% try the same tactic on their school debt. The craziest part? Just under half of them got their debts fully or partially discharged. In other words, you can file for bankruptcy on your student loans. Depending on your situation, it might just be a matter of trying. At least there's that.
The average text takes your eyes off the road for nearly 5 seconds. At highway speeds, that's enough time to travel the length of a football field. Stop the texts, stop the wrecks.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Yes, it is the Bill Press Show, 56 minutes past the hour. Peter Ogburn sitting in for Bill Press today. What? What's so funny? So funny in there, Chuckles. I look over a couple times during the show, and Jamie's just...
you just come back so quick from break.
He's showing teeth in there, laughing so hard. All right. Well, look, so
give me a head start next time.
Hey, when it's time to go, I go. Donald Trump is already on Twitter this morning, letting him have it. Got to tell him what's happening. Donald Trump, just reading straight from his Twitter feed, failed candidate Mitt Romney, who ran one of the worst races in presidential history, is working with the establishment to bury a big Republican win. I have brought millions of people into the Republican Party while the Democrats are going down. Establishment wants to kill this movement. Why would the great people of Florida vote for a guy who, as a senator, never even shows up for a vote? Worst record. Marco Rubio is a joke. I'm the only one who could beat Hillary Clinton. I am not a Mitt Romney who doesn't know how to win. Hillary wants no part of Trump. Remember Mitt Romney when he was running for president, just how goofy he was?
Here, I love this state. It seems right here. The trees are the right height. I like seeing the lakes. I love the lakes. There's something very special here. The Great Lakes, but also all the little inland lakes that dot the parts of Michigan. I love cars.
What is he saying?
I don't know. I mean, I
love cars.
Totally in love with cars. It used to be in the 50s and 60s. If you showed me 1 square foot of almost any part of a car, I could tell you what brand it was, the model, and so forth. Now with all the Japanese cars, I'm not quite so good at it. I still know the American cars pretty well.
I love how he has to specify.
I love cars. I love American cars.
I love American cars. I love how he has to specify. It's not even the Great Lakes I love. It's all the little inland lakes. You weirdo. What are you talking about?
I'm a big fan of lakes. Leave him alone.
Jamie Benson during the break with the correct call that was very Jebby. That was awfully Jeb-esque. Right?
That was Jeb preview.
That was very Jebbish. Of the nervously talking about something and you have no idea what you want to say. Yeah, that was Jebbish. All right. Good luck with that. Good luck with Mitt Romney taking down Donald Trump. I wish you all the luck in this world and beyond. But boy, oh boy, is that going to fall flat. 866-55-PRESS is our phone number. We've got a lot to talk about in the next hour, so stay tuned right where you are. We'll be back.
This is the Bill Press Show.
All right, guys, I want to take the last part of the day to change our focus and talk a little bit about water. There's rivers, there's lakes, there's huge oceans. You get thirsty, you just go and you get some water, right? We rely on rain for our water. We even rely on snow. But what if it doesn't rain? What if it doesn't snow? We have to get the word out about water conservation. I want you to tell your parents, your friends, your neighbors, how important it is to save water. It's up to you guys to save the planet. All right? What if it doesn't rain? What if it doesn't snow? We have to get the word out about water conservation. It's up to you guys to save the planet.
Hi, I'm Mark LaFleur, and I produced the short film you just watched called Aquaforce. California is experiencing one of the worst droughts it's ever had, and now, more than ever, it's important for everyone to do their part to help conserve water. The reason I made this film is because I wanted to make something fun and informative that would get people talking about the California drought. Obviously, this is an important issue because we have a limited amount of clean drinking water. I think it was very important to let people know, especially young people, that this is an important resource, maybe our most important resource, and it's something that we can't take for granted and we certainly can't waste. I really wanted this to be something that children would respond to. The kind of thing that any kid anywhere in the world, no matter what language they speak, could understand the story and be entertained by it and leave it knowing that this is something important, that if they didn't already know about this, that it's now going to be a part of the way that they think about water, the way that they live life, and that it's something that they'll share with their friends. The fact that they watch this video once or twice and they immediately understand that water is important, that's it. That was the whole point of this thing, to get it into the conversation, to make it something that kids are thinking about, talking about, that they're aware of, and that they know is important. This project was self-funded, so we relied on the support of our community to make it happen. It was pretty amazing to just have our neighbors, our friends, and our coworkers come together and volunteer their time and their homes and their kids to make this thing happen. Thanks for checking out the video. Keep the Aquaforce going, and thanks for watching Free Speech TV.
I wanted to find a bank with a purpose. I wanted to find a place that would take my money and not use it to cause the financial crisis, but to fix the financial crisis and to help end income inequality.
The people that we employ are usually clients right off the streets. They don't have an account, but Amalgamated is willing to get that started for them.
Their reputation supporting the working man, I think, speaks for itself. This is a bank that cares for their customers, and I appreciate that.
We were able to access a construction loan through the bank's programs, and that loan has helped us house 28 families in the community.
Amalgamated is a bank that was started for and about working people.
Many of our customers have a deep commitment to advocating for social and economic justice. We share that commitment, and we're not afraid to stand up and say that we need to change some of the way that the country does business.
Broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
Hey now, it is The Bill Press Show, second hour of today's broadcast, Thursday, March 3rd, 2016. Thank you all so much for tuning in. My name is Peter Ogburn, sitting in for Bill Press today on this Super Thursday edition. That's a thing, right?
It's not a thing, Peter.
Is it not? I thought every day of the week was super after Super Tuesday.
Trying to make it a thing, it's not a thing.
Super Thursday. Not working? Yeah. Well, it's a fine Thursday, frankly. Here with you on the Bill Press Show. Well, ladies and gentlemen, here we are on a regular Thursday, talking so much politics. It was a big day yesterday. There's a lot of stuff going on. We are finally starting to see the skeleton form of the attack robot that's going to take down Donald Trump, and at its very core, its very foundation, is none other than Willard Mitt Romney. He's going to be the guy. He's going to be the attack dog, and to that I say, good luck. Running the board today is Jamie Benson, standing by. Hello, Jamie.
Hey, good morning, Peter.
Good to see you, sir. Mm-hmm. Still relishing in his Jamie Cam. If you like the Jamie Cam, if you like the good work that Jamie does, follow him on Twitter at JBensonDC, where you can find his email, and then you can send him a little mail.
Sure.
We can open up the mail sack.
Let's open up.
We can look into the mail sack.
We're going to call it the mail bag.
It's a mail sack, though, isn't it? Considering the nature of the emails that we usually get.
It's still going to call it the mail bag.
Yeah. All right. Jamie Benson standing by. To take your calls at 866-55-PRESS is Ray Rogers. If you call 866-55-PRESS, you could hear her voice there and tell her what you think about today's show. And streaming video at youtube.com/TawkrTV, TawkrTV, or on Free Speech TV, on DirecTV, Dish Network, Roku. Cyprian Bolding is making sure that we are looking good on the video. Oh, we said farewell yesterday, ladies and gentlemen. We had to say goodbye to none other than Ben Barson, dropping out of the race. It's sad to see him go. Jamie has done a great job of pulling together some of our favorite Ben Carson clips, which we played. We're going to be playing all throughout the program. This is my favorite Ben Carson clip. Because, he talked about how he was robbed at gunpoint, or someone tried to rob him at gunpoint inside of a, quote, Popeyes organization in Baltimore, and how he reacted to it. This is his solution for getting out of trouble.
I have had a gun held on me when I was in a Popeyes organization.
Well, you eat Popeyes as a doctor? Was this before you were a doctor? Because I don't know. Full disclosure.
We have to die of something. Guy comes in, puts the gun in my ribs, and I just said, I believe that you want the guy behind the counter.
Okay, so Ben Carson, a man who wants to lead the American people, thinks that the best way to get out of trouble is to convince this guy to shoot somebody else besides him. I think you want the guy behind the counter. He's advocating that this guy shoot somebody else. And that's not even the most disturbing part of the clip. The most disturbing part of the clip is that he calls it a Popeyes organization. There's a Popeyes not far from my house, and there's actually not one not far from the studio. Every time I walk by it or drive by it, every single time, either one of them, I just laugh to myself quietly and just go, Popeyes organization. Every time.
Do you think now that he's dropping out, I mean, he could go do a Fox News show. I think the solution is to do a couple Popeyes commercials.
If he did commercials for Popeyes, that would be so great. That would be great.
It's like he never went away.
Good call, by the way. Because he will be on Fox News. I believe that. Believe that he will be on there as at least a contributor. But yeah, Popeyes commercials are in his future. All right, 10 minutes past the hour. I want to talk about a story that's flying a little under the radar. It's not politically related, but it's something you should absolutely care about. That's coming up, but first...
This is the Full Court
Jamie
Press.
Benson with some headlines.
Yeah, just a couple of other stories for you on this Thursday morning. We're talking about Ben Carson. Let's talk about one of Ben Carson's biggest fans, Curt Schilling, former Major League Baseball pitcher and known...
Who did he pitch for?
A couple of other teams other than the Red Sox. Just a short stint there for the Red Sox.
Yeah, he was a Red Sox.
Not a big deal.
He did win a championship with the Red Sox.
I don't claim him. Anyway, Curt Schilling still in the news, most notably for his Republican commentary, even though he is employed by the worldwide leader of sports, ESPN. So does an interview with this Kansas City radio station on Tuesday, and he's asked about Hillary Clinton, who obviously he's not a big fan of.
No.
He says, quote, she should be buried under a jail somewhere in reference to her email scandal. ESPN, of course, was forced to address this, and that's all they've said so far. We are, quote, addressing it. Of course, baseball season hasn't fully begun yet. Schilling is a commentator for their Sunday night baseball broadcast.
When are they going to let him go?
This has gone on too long.
This is like the fourth or fifth time that he's really stepped on his nuts.
He had some flaps last year as well. In January, in fact, ESPN sent a memo to its employees urging them not to comment on the presidential race. It was pretty easy to follow, right?
Well, who could that be? Yeah, no, I don't think John Kruk is out there talking smack about Bernie Sanders.
No, sir. In some positive sports news, the International Olympic Committee announced yesterday that we may see a refugee team at the Olympics in Brazil. Yeah, this is huge news. The IOC president, Thomas Bach, said he expects between 5 and 10 athletes to be selected for this team. They will be called the Team Refugee Olympic Athletes. They'll have the Olympic flag, the IOC official flag, as their flag.
That's remarkable. That's fascinating.
No details yet on where the team members come from, their original countries, or which sports they may compete in. You may not have known this either. The IOC has already pledged $2 million to help refugees and have already asked authorities in refugee camps to start identifying these athletes, so it looks like they may have finally found a good batch to compete
That's
in
a good story.
Rio.
I like that story. That's a good story.
Yeah. And finally, Barack Obama obviously honored the Alabama Crimson Tide yesterday at the White House. You happy I mentioned that a
Roll
second time?
Tide. Didn't even have to ask you to mention it. Roll damn Tide.
Cool president doing things like this. Obviously, presidents do this for national championships, but I think President Barack Obama is probably the coolest when it comes to
he loves it.
Addressing athletes. Cool President Barack Obama is going down to cool music festival South by Southwest.
Yeah.
That's right. Barack Obama will be going down to the big, well, I guess it's not just a music festival anymore, right?
So it's an ideas festival.
Film, media, Twitter,
thing.
whatever.
Yeah.
He's going to be interviewed in a keynote conversation during the festival's opening day, and he's supposedly dropping an app. Do you know that?
Really?
Yeah, it's got an app. There's no details on it yet, but...
that's the place to do it, I guess.
South by Southwest official release says, quote, the president will call on the audience to apply
By the way,
their...
Jamie, we call it South by.
South by.
Yeah, just so...
Well, now the president's going down there, it's not as exclusive anymore,
No,
so I figure
was going to say, this is the death of South by Southwest.
We can make it a little more mainstream now. He's going to call on the audience to apply their ideas and talents to make technology work for us, especially when it comes to tackling big challenges like increasing participation in the political process and fighting climate change. Perhaps he means fighting the Republicans
as
well.
I mean, good for him, but this is the end of South by Southwest.
That's
it's
it.
not cool anymore.
And I was thinking about going this year.
Were you? This is it.
Imagine getting around. Ooh.
I can't imagine getting arrested. That's a nightmare. You'll never find me there. That just sounds horrible. All right, it's about 15 minutes past the hour. We talked a lot of politics in the last hour. We're going to talk a lot of politics coming up. But I did want to talk about this story that's sort of been kind of floating under the radar because we have been talking so much news this week. Erin Andrews is in the news because she is now suing Marriott. And if you don't know who Erin Andrews is, she's a sportscaster, very popular one. And a couple of years ago, a man by the name of Michael David Barrett stalked her, got a room right next to hers, cut out the peephole in her door, and filmed her naked in the privacy of her hotel room, and then he released it on the internet. This case took place a while back for Michael David Barrett. He went away to jail. You know how long he went away to jail for?
Not quite sure. Let me see.
2 years. No, I'm telling you.
Oh, you have it.
2 years.
Hey.
2 years. That's it. For doing that, for doing that to somebody, 2 years is all you get? He did out of his testimony from the case, he talks about how this went through. And I just want to read some of this because this is so scary and terrifying that someone had this thought process. So he requested a room next to her at a Nashville hotel. This is how easy it was to make that happen. First of all, he looked her up, saw how popular she was, and he decided, I'm going to go do this and I'm going to make money. He was down on his luck. He wanted to make money off of this. And what he did is he tried to book a room at the Nashville Marriott, and he said, I want a room right next to Erin Andrews, which should give any hotel employee pause to think, what a psycho. And they said no, that the room wasn't available. But he stalked her even more, followed her up to her room, and saw that the room next to hers was being cleaned, and went back down and requested that specific room, and they gave it to him. So when he heard her leave the room, he was listening. He heard her leave the room. That's when he went and did the peephole thing. But so now she got her justice against this guy, which frankly, 2 years is not nearly enough time for something like this. But she got her justice against him. She wants to go after Marriott. And she's suing them for $75 million. Which I'm all for, by the way. I know a lot of people are saying that this isn't necessary, or she's already gotten her justice. I think there's no amount of money that you could put on to protecting your privacy in a place that you're supposed to be private. This is what we're hearing during the trial. The defense team for Marriott says that, her career has actually benefited from this video.
You also got an endorsement for Reebok.
Yes.
You also got an endorsement for Degree Antiperspirant.
Yes.
You also got an endorsement for Diet Mountain Dew.
Yes.
You also got an endorsement for Florida Orange Juice.
Yes.
Listen to that. That's sick. That's disgusting. Oh, yeah. Well, we totally invaded your privacy. We put video of you naked on the internet that will never, ever go away. But, you made a couple bucks off of it. So what are you so worried about? Like, you talk about it being a man's world, man. Like, that's terrible. That poor woman. And if you think for a moment, like, oh, it's not such a big deal, like I've heard friends who are like, well, she has nothing to be worried about. She looked great in the video. It's not the point. It's not the point. And when she talks about moving forward with her life, this is going to be something that's going to be with her forever.
What happens when my kids come home from school and they're like, Mom, kids are saying you're naked on the internet? That's something that's always in my mind. And I'll always have to tell my kid, Mommy didn't do anything wrong.
I mean, that's heartbreaking, right? That she's going to have to go through this for the rest of her life. She talked early on about how, even in her own house, when getting undressed to take a shower, she doesn't feel comfortable, right? Because you never know, apparently. You think you're safe in one place, and you're not safe. You never know. Like, opening up to a partner, all this stuff. Your life is in a lot of ways, it could ruin a lot of people's lives.
I mean, it's hard enough being a female.
Oh, my God.
In the sports industry.
In the sports industry.
Not just in America, obviously, but...
You don't know. I know where you're going. Yeah, go ahead.
But, I mean, you look at the difference between when you have a female sports anchor. I sit with folks, I'm not going to say who they are, men.
Oh, by the way, it's always men.
Sit and watch SportsCenter or Fox Sports or whatever else, and a woman's reading sports like a man would do, like the highlights and everything like that, and it's just constant scrutiny. Oh, she doesn't know what she's doing.
Yeah.
She doesn't know what she's talking about.
Yeah.
Her voice is shrill. Same thing we hear with Hillary Clinton.
Shrill
right?
voice.
On the presidential campaign.
She looks good tonight. The other night she was wearing a dress that didn't make her look so good. Not that long ago, Tony Kornheiser said Linda Cohn looked like she was wearing a dress and it looked like she was a sausage stuffed into a casing, right? Like, men can, this is a man's world, right? Like, men can just absolutely destroy women and get away with it. Now, the most messed up part of this story, as far as I'm concerned, in the middle of this trial, which is getting coverage, people are talking about it. In the middle of this trial, in the middle of figuring out what Marriott did wrong, and at the heart of this is whether or not Marriott took this seriously enough. A representative for Marriott, I'm reading straight from this article here, a representative for the ownership group of the Marriott Nashville at Vanderbilt admitted that the Erin Andrews peephole video at the center of her lawsuit was played at his dinner table Tuesday night. So he went out to dinner with a bunch of friends, and someone pulled the video up on their phone and passed it around at the dinner table in the middle of this trial that this guy is in. Are you kidding me? Like, that alone should be put in front of a jury and say, give her $75 million. This guy is too dumb to have money. That is the craziest, dumbest, most demeaning thing. Here you are hearing these horror stories. You hear that horror story from her talking about what she's going to have to tell her future kids. And she can't be alone in a room and feel comfortable because she feels like eyes are on her. You talk about how, like, this is a woman who goes to sporting events all around the country. She has to check into hotels. Can you imagine? You imagine ever checking into a hotel again with this hanging over your head? And this guy is, I'm in public watching it on my phone at a restaurant? What an ass. That's just, that is just the lowest of the low. After you hear the pain and suffering that this video has caused this woman, that it's a gag to pull out of the dinner table. Dick, that's just terrible. That's awful. 866-55-PRESS is our phone number, 866-557-7377. Talk about that and much, much more. Stay tuned. We'll be back.
Connect with The Bill Press Show on Twitter. Follow us at BP Show and tweet using the hashtag WatchingBP. This is The Bill Press Show.
This is the story of my grandfather. When I was 19 years old, his right hand was crushed in a printing press. He was supposed to lose the hand, but a young doctor saved it just in time for the war. This is the story of the war. My grandfather repaired tanks. Behind the front lines, away from the cameras, he would pull pieces of dead men from the machines and send the machines back out to the field. This is the story of the war a decade later. Back then, you didn't talk about depression. There was no such thing as PTSD. When my uncle, age 7, asked him who won the war, my grandfather said, nobody. This is the story of my grandfather, the machinist. I have a newspaper from 1981, a story about the Nobel Prize for Physics, a photograph of the winner, a Harvard man standing by his machines. This man is not my grandfather. Beneath the photo, my grandfather has written, I designed and built almost everything in this picture. They worked together for 10 years, but my grandmother says the physicist never even remembered his name. If you asked that Harvard man, there would be no story of my grandfather, just a pair of disembodied hands. This is the problem with stories. They have to leave something out. The editor cuts a line and someone's face fades. The editor says 200 words or less and suddenly a whole family goes missing. The spotlight isn't about the light, it's how it makes everything around it dark. My grandfather's face is erased from every story. The machines survive, but the man who made them doesn't. The machines make the photo, but their maker is out of frame. But we choose where to point the camera. We can choose how to tell the story. We can choose which clothing the hero wears. I could tell you this is a story about a soldier, or I could tell you this is a story about the blue-collar man, but really, this is just the story of my grandfather. I did not know him. I was born too late, but my family tells me his name. Alfred Franzosa. I know that name might only live in this moment, that there are other stories with greater stakes, but still, I will tell you his name. I will repair this old machine. I will let my grandfather live again because I could not know him while he was living. Once, when he was younger than I am now, his right hand was crushed by a printing press, crushed by other people's stories. When it healed, he began to build. He used his hands to build tanks and his hands to build cradles. His hands were the last thing to touch dead soldiers and the first to touch his newborn sons. He built a good family, and that family built me, and now I use my hands to build his story. The story is not a eulogy. A eulogy seals the casket. A eulogy lets no air out. This story is a resurrection. Jesus was not resurrected by God. He was brought back by the people who told his stories. It does not take a miracle to raise the dead, to leave behind the tombstone and take the name with you.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
Super Tuesday, and Mitt Romney with his thing coming up later on today. This is going to be Romney's big takedown of Trump. Will it work? 866-55-PRESS is our phone number. Let me answer it for you. No, it's not going to work. Something might work, but Mitt Romney ain't the answer. I can tell you that. I just have all these, like, this flood of memories come back from all the crazy kind of dopey things that Mitt Romney did when he was running for president. Like, he's not like a horrible candidate or anything like that. He's not a good candidate either, but, you know, just the dopey things. Like, all the trees are the right height. Remember he takes that sip of lemonade and he just goes, lemon, wet, good. That's how he describes lemonade.
I mean, he's notoriously a robot.
Oh, yeah, totally. Lemon, wet, good. That's how he describes lemonade.
We were talking about him and Jeb. At least Jeb had some, like, human qualities.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Romney clearly just hardwired.
Jeb was sadder, I think.
Jeb had a heart that was always sad.
Yeah, buddy. All right, stay tuned. More stuff coming up here on The Bill Press Show.
This is The Bill Press Show.
I have run these canyons for 6 million years. I have traveled from the Rocky Mountains to the deserts, through scorching heat and freezing cold, from the land of the dinosaurs to fields of food.
I lend my hand to 7 states, 2 countries, 9 national parks,
and 36 million people across an arid West.
I am not the strongest or the largest, but I am the hardest working.
People love me.
My playfulness,
My beauty.
my power,
My life. But I don't think I can offer any more.
I am tired.
I am tired,
tapped,
and tied. Of the hundreds of major rivers in the world, I am one of the few who no longer kisses the sea.
Battles to harness my soul have been won and lost. Use me wisely, and I will sustain you.
Use me like you have, and I will break. My name
is
Red. The Grand River Red. The American Nile.
The Canyon Maker. I am the Colorado River.
And I am the most endangered river in America.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. You know, but it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, you know, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Seen on Free Speech TV and online on TawkrTV. This is the Bill Press Show.
It is the Bill Press Show, 33 minutes past the hour here on Thursday, March 3rd. Bill is out on the West Coast pushing his book. If you haven't bought a copy, you can go buy it now. Buyer's Remorse is the name of his book. Like you didn't know that, right? The guy pushes the book all the time. But it's a good book. Have you read it yet, by the way, Jamie?
No. I was going to say Hillary Clinton said the name of the book during the debate.
She did.
So if you don't know the name of the book by now,
that's the book. That's the book
you're hiding under a rock.
That almost got burning in a little hot water. Anyway, it's Bill's book, Buyer's Remorse.
I'm 6 pages in.
That's still it's a sizable dent.
This weekend I'll finish it.
Yeah, wrap it up. It's actually good. It's actually good. He didn't. I mean, he pays me, so so I'm not going to say it's not good, but it is. It's a good book. All right, so joining me now in studio is reporter and polling director for the Huffington Post, Arielle Edwards-Levy. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
I'm a big fan of yours online on Twitter, where people can follow you at here it is. Yeah, A Edwards Levy, right? A Edwards Levy on Twitter.
Yep, way too long Twitter handle, way too long email address.
No, it's okay. It's all right. I think that's good. That way people who know who you are. So thanks for coming in. I'm glad you can make it in. Like I said, I'm a big fan of what you do. So make sure everybody's following her on Twitter. She's an absolute delight. And we wanted to talk a lot about politics in general. But Jamie, let's start right off with Ben Carson, because Ben Carson yesterday, as only Ben Carson can, he didn't. I don't know what he did with his campaign, honestly. Like, he's kind of suspended it. I love how he said, I remain deeply committed to my home nation, America. Which is the Ben Carson-iest way to shut down his campaign. But he says he doesn't see a path forward, but he's not exactly suspending his campaign. So he's done, right? I think we can agree.
I think he's been done basically, and this may be as close as he comes to admitting it. My favorite was during one of the primaries where he sent out a release noting that he'd gotten as many delegates as some of the other candidates, by which he meant 0.
Oh, that's actually kind of sad. But, you know, to Ben Carson's credit, he is the only man, he's the only Republican who actually topped the polls besides Donald Trump. It's been all Trump, except for there was a very brief little blip on the radar where Ben Carson shut up. So the fight for Ben Carson's supporters, which inevitably is happening, it's a real thing, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And he actually has some supporters to fight over. He left the race with something like 8 to 10% nationally, which in a race like this, that matters.
Yeah, sure.
And the interesting thing is that his supporters are not really a solid voting bloc. A couple of pollsters who've looked at this recently have asked people who their second choice candidate would be. And what you see is sort of a three-way split, maybe a little bit more for Marco Rubio, Ted Cruz than Donald Trump, but it's not by any means really favoring one of them over the others. And I think what you're seeing is appeals to different parts of Ben Carson's personality. I think if you liked him because of his evangelical faith, you're going to go to Ted Cruz. He has that market covered. They were sort of competing, and it's good for Cruz to get a little oxygen there. Yeah. If you liked that he was this outside candidate who wasn't a professional politician and had a habit of sometimes saying somewhat interesting things, maybe you're in the Donald Trump camp. If you like that he was a relatively sunny campaigner, that he had a backstory, maybe you're going to Rubio.
Yeah.
So.
No, you know, it's funny because one of the things that's been emerging as Republicans sort of come to grips with the fact that Donald Trump is their front runner is, you know, we've got to get Ted Cruz out of the race. We've got to get Marco Rubio out of the race. That way those votes can go to either Rubio or Cruz. But this idea of that, like, if Ted Cruz got out of the race, those votes aren't all going to go to Marco Rubio. We know that, right? Like, a lot of those would probably end up going to Trump, right?
Yeah, I mean...
So this whole idea that these people inherit these voters is weird.
Yeah, it's just not that stable of a race. And I mean, you do see that if it were a two-person race, Ben Carson's supporters would fairly overwhelmingly choose either Rubio or Cruz over Trump.
Sure.
So, you know, maybe there's some advantage. Certainly if one person gets out, it makes it easier for the other person. But I think it's a mistake to assume that you have these monolithic voting blocs who are going to march in lockstep from one candidate to the next, you know, from the establishment to the sort of establishment, if you can call Ted Cruz.
He's establishment-ish, right? Like, I think that's close
adjacent.
enough. Yeah, of or like the establishment. But at the same time, there are probably a lot of voters who were only coming out to vote for Ben Carson. Like, that he is their one and only vote, right? Like, they're probably not going to go vote for somebody else.
I mean, it's sort of interesting to think about that because I don't know if he had the same sort of raw turnout appeal that Donald Trump seems to have been demonstrating, but certainly I do think he had a message that's dissimilar from some of the other candidates, and I'm sure some of his supporters are not going to fit nicely into any of the camps that are remaining.
Okay, so you're a polling director.
Yes.
You're good with numbers.
Moderately.
All right. So mathematically, right, like let's talk about Donald Trump for a moment, because there's a chance that the Republicans have a plan at the last minute to figure out a better candidate than Donald Trump, and maybe we see that play out at the convention, maybe we don't. But mathematically, the way that people vote, is there a way for anybody to catch Trump?
The thing about the voting counts is that because the delegate process is so convoluted, it's sort of a version of new math that makes things a little more complicated. Right now, Donald Trump is on track to win, and he's doing well. He's doing a little bit better in the delegate counts than he needs to come out ahead at this point. I think there is still a chance that he can be stopped, but it would require either one person completely catching fire, and who's going to stop him is maybe the more operative question. I think maybe the best hope for his opponents at this point is to keep splitting the vote enough so that when he gets to the convention, it's not so overwhelming that there's still a chance for people to cause some havoc there, because if he goes in there with a complete lead, that makes it a lot tougher to say that he's not the consensus choice.
No, that's a good point. And meanwhile, Marco Rubio, he finally got his first win.
I know.
His one and only win. Like an actual win, not like a 5th place win, which he tried to make into a win in New Hampshire. So, like, when you see sort of the Cruz-Rubio thing as being the alternative to Trump, I think for the week leading up to Super Tuesday, there was this sort of notion that Rubio is going to be the guy. But then when we got to Super Tuesday, it was Ted Cruz who actually came away with the wins. So who are Republicans leaning towards being the guy to take down Trump?
That seems like the question, doesn't it?
Right?
Yeah, and I mean, I think Ted Cruz did what he needed to do on Super Tuesday to basically save himself, in that he demonstrated that he still has appeal, he can get out in those states. The problem for Ted Cruz is that the calendar, as we go on, gets tougher for him, because the share of voters to whom he appeals, to the very conservative, to the evangelical Christians who place a lot of value on religion, that starts diminishing in a lot of the states we see going forward, which makes it harder for him to expand his reach beyond that constituency. On the other hand, Marco Rubio, he has more endorsements than anybody else.
Yeah.
He's clearly the guy they wanted to win, but you do eventually need to start winning for that.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, you have to win something.
And I mean, congratulations on one state. That's progress. At this rate, maybe in 8 years or so.
You'll win a few more. Yeah, I think you can do it, Marco. All right, so lots to talk about. Let's go ahead and take a break now. We're going to break a little early, if that's all right, Jamie, because when we come back, I want to talk more about Super Tuesday and get into sort of the math of Hillary versus Bernie. And also, you know what they say, it all comes down to turnout. So what does turnout look like? What did turnout look like on Super Tuesday? And what does that mean for both parties? 866-55-PRESS is our phone number. My name is Peter Ogburn, sitting in for Bill Press. Very quick break. We'll be back with our guest, Ariel Edwards-Levy from the Huffington Post. Stay tuned.
Follow us on Twitter @BP Show. This is The Bill Press Show.
It occurred to me tonight, for the first time, that the long-winged insect that over and over again rams its body into the wood of my front door might not know what he's doing. He might not have a plan. Maybe that's just how he flies, and that is where the door is. And I remember you. The last time I saw you, a few weeks before we would graduate from high school, and a few days before you let a bullet dissolve on your tongue, dancing in a warehouse rave, sweat-drenched and strobe light battered, thrashing your arms back and thrusting them forward. The floor could get so bright and loud, we all slowed down to be more careful, but you kept dancing full sprint tornado, and sometimes you'd spin full weight into a wall and just spread your arms against it and sway back and forth like a lover reunited. This long-winged insect is not trying to get into the house. It doesn't know there is a house. Can't imagine a life beyond that door. All it can see is the light. You and I were both 17 when you died. And ever since then, I have envied you. How you are remembered for towering, unclaimed potential instead of living to look regret in the face. You didn't have to come home 3 weeks later and explain to your little brother why you took too much medicine. Your addiction is remembered as a tragedy, not a betrayal. Your suicide attempt became a suicide, not an unpaid hospital bill. And only tonight did it occur to me that maybe that night when you let your teeth touch metal, you might not have known what you were doing. You might not have had a plan. Maybe you had hit that door so many times you couldn't imagine it might let you through. I'm still ashamed to admit it, but I have always secretly believed you did it for me, that you wanted to show me that there is a way out of all of this. Not so that I would follow you, but so I would understand that every day that I am alive is a day that I choose to be alive. And when the music stops, you still get to keep on dancing. And when the light is so bright it blinds, you can dance with your eyes closed. And if in that dark you come up against a wall, you keep your arms out wide and you dance with the wall.
Help keep all the presidential candidates straight with your progressive headquarters for the 2016 election. This is The Bill Press Show.
It is The Bill Press Show, 45 minutes past the hour. My name is Peter Ogburn. I'm sitting in for Bill Press today. Thank you all for tuning in. I am lucky enough to have in studio with me Arielle Edwards-Levy. She's a reporter and polling director for the Huffington Post. In studio, you can follow her on Twitter at @AEdwards-Levy. And read her fine work at HuffingtonPost.com. So, Arielle, we talked about the Republicans and the math after Super Tuesday. What about the Democrats? Hillary Clinton certainly increased her lead nationally over Bernie Sanders. She certainly has more delegates. She had a bigger night on Super Tuesday. Does Bernie has a sort of chance here mathematically?
I think Bernie's chance at this point looks very, very narrow.
Yeah.
And I mean, you know, it's always too soon to write somebody's political obituary until they drop out of the race. But I think even more than the delegate counts or anything like that, what Super Tuesday showed is that he so far hasn't managed to expand his voter base in the way that he would need to in order to pull something out. He's still, you know, not bringing out the kind of turnout numbers in terms of new voters or young voters that he needs, despite how well he does among those groups. He's not making the kinds of inroads into diverse communities that he needs to. He's not creating a bigger gender gap. It just doesn't look like he's getting the momentum that he would need. And certainly it's remarkable that he's won some states and that he's pulling in so much support, but it seems like that's hit sort of a ceiling.
I do think that we'll see this play out for a long time. We were talking to someone earlier, Susan Page earlier, who was saying, you know, Hillary really doesn't have any ground to stand on to call him to drop out of the race, right? Because she followed her race with Obama all the way to the bitter end. And so I think that Bernie could end up doing something like that. I think that he'll just, you know, continue to do his thing, and as long as there's even the slimmest mathematical chance, he'll stay in. But Super Tuesday was a big day for Hillary Clinton. It was also a big day for Donald Trump. Let's talk about some Super Tuesday takeaways. Any big surprises out of Super Tuesday?
I think there weren't a lot of surprises. It was basically we expected to see Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton doing very well, and they continue to pull that out. I think what I was looking at is who came in second place, and certainly Ted Cruz, as we discussed, did a little bit better than was expected. I think another thing was that Democrats are continuing not to see a lot of turnout in the way that Republicans are.
And there you have hit on the next question, the turnout question, because Republicans are setting records for turnout because it's so high. Democrats are setting records for turnout because it's so low this time around. So is that something that Democrats should be worried about?
It's one of those things where whenever we try to answer questions like this, we go and look back at electoral precedent. And the problem with electoral precedent is that we really don't have that many elections to look back on. And also this election is weird.
Yeah, right?
So I think the question is, who knows? I'm sure in retrospect it'll be very obvious. On one hand, yes, obviously, if you have a lot of enthusiasm and momentum, that is rarely a bad thing. If you're bringing in new voters and expanding the base, that's rarely a bad thing. On the other hand, there's some evidence that one of the things that really juices turnout is having more candidates.
Yeah. Sure.
So that's a factor right there. Another factor is that the kind of people who vote in primaries tend to look a little bit more like Republicans. Older people are more likely than young people to turn out in primaries. So it's one of those things where it's certainly a warning sign, but whether it's a muted one or one of the big ones with the red siren flashing, we'll see as we head into the general election territory, I think.
Yeah, good to know. Good to know. And you see everybody sort of falling over themselves for the evangelical vote, right? Even Donald Trump, a man who is on record as being fairly immoral, is running around, claiming 2 Corinthians as his favorite Bible verse. He's making the play for evangelicals. How did evangelicals play into Super Tuesday?
The really interesting thing about evangelicals is that I think people assume that they're this, again, very solid voting bloc who goes, okay, that's the religious candidate. We like the religious candidate.
Yeah.
That's who we're going to vote for.
Yeah.
And as with everything else this year, it's a lot more complicated than that. There was some really interesting surveys out of Pew Research lately that looked at people's perception of religion in the race. And you had a lot of people who said, A, that religion was very important to them, B, that they didn't think Trump was very religious, and C, that they were still planning to vote for him. And so the question is, what is he doing that's tapping into that? And the answer is that in a lot of ways, this is a group that many people feel a little bit marginalized, sort of that they've been pushed to the side, that they are not at the peak of where they are. And so his message of sort of restoring what's past is really appealing to them. His main play has been for the disenchanted kind of voter, and that ends up appealing to a lot of evangelical voters.
And then in the Democratic primaries, it's all about people of color because, Hillary Clinton seems to have a lock on those voters. Bernie Sanders trying to make a play. How did they vote on Super Tuesday?
They voted overwhelmingly for Hillary Clinton. In some cases, the margin she won over Bernie Sanders was bigger than the margin Obama won over her. And the thing is that many of these communities, they don't dislike Bernie Sanders.
Sure,
They don't know who he is,
Right.
and he hasn't been successful. He's actually improved a lot in terms of his ratings among many of these communities. His numbers among black voters increased substantially over the course of the campaign. If the exit polls in Nevada are to be believed, which is debatable. He certainly did better among Latino voters than he might have expected, but there's this yawning divide, and he hasn't caught up on that.
It's exciting stuff to talk about. Ariel Edwards-Levy, thank you so much for coming in studio. I
Thank
really
you so much for
appreciate
having
it.
me.
This was really great. All right, my name is Peter Ogburn. I'm sitting in for Bill Press today. We're going to take a very quick break, and we'll be right back. Thanks for tuning in.
On your radio, on TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
Calls me googly eyes.
You know you're beautiful, right? You know that?
Even you are beautiful. I got bullied for wearing glasses. Share if you're against bullying.
We put it out there, just took off. 3 million people have shared this post. Don't let bullies get you down. I stand with you. The whole family's wearing glasses. I wear glasses and I'm proud.
I even have the army on my team.
All the kind comments brought my child joy. I don't feel thank you is enough.
Thanks.
You taught him how to hit a baseball.
Just like that. Say hi!
How to hit a receiver. The strike zone. The net. You taught him how to hit the upper corner. You even taught him how to hit the open man. But how much time have you spent teaching him what not to hit?
I wanted to find a bank with a purpose. I wanted to find a place that would take my money and not use it to cause the financial crisis, but to fix the financial crisis and to help end income inequality.
The people that we employ are usually clients right off the streets. They don't have an account, but Amalgamated is willing to get that started for them.
Their reputation of supporting the working man, I think, speaks for itself. This is a bank that cares for their customers, and I appreciate that.
We were able to access a construction loan through the bank's programs, and that loan has helped us house 28 families in the community.
Amalgamated is a bank that was started for and about working people.
Many of our customers have a deep commitment to advocating for social and economic justice. We share that commitment, and we're not afraid to stand up and say that we need to change some of the way that the country does business.
This is the Bill Press Show.
It is the Bill Press Show. Thank you so much for tuning in. My name is Peter Ogburn. You can follow me on Twitter at Peter Ogburn. You can follow the show at BP Show. You can follow Jamie Benson at JBensonDC. Any mail, by the way?
No mail, but I want folks to tweet, email, and I want to know if...
Are you about to plug your Snapchat?
No, I don't do Snapchat. I don't plug my Snapchat.
You do. What do you tell you do?
I want to know how many other folks think it's Friday, like we do.
Yo.
It feels like Friday.
It really... I didn't even work on Monday. Today should feel like Wednesday to me, but I spent an entire day yesterday thinking it was Friday. Right? Like, that's a real thing. I had that feeling all day. Yeah. It's not Friday. It's Thursday. It's March 3rd. And we are here with you. By the way, you remember Jared Fogle?
Yeah.
The Subway guy?
Terrible person.
Horrible person. But he's in jail, and he got famous because he lost a bunch of weight eating Subway, right? He said Subway helped him lose all this weight. Guy became a millionaire several times over because of that. Well, he's in jail now, and he has gained, apparently, 30 pounds in prison.
Huh. How ironic.
No Subway in jail. Someone in Touch Weekly talked to his fellow inmates, and they say that his fellow inmates taunt him because of his weight gain. They say Jared's breakfast is Frosted Flakes with fruit or oatmeal with cake. Cake? You get cake for breakfast in prison? He loves Cake Day in the dining hall twice a week, and he buys honey buns by the box, as well as other pastries and the commissary on his weekly shopping day. He's been known to eat an entire box of 8 honey buns in one sitting. 8 honey buns?
I mean, what else does he have left?
Dude, prison sounds like a dream. I get boxes of honey buns?
Don't go too far here.
Frosted Flakes with fruit or oatmeal and cake for breakfast. The inmates regularly taunt him because of his...
Who is Subway's most high-profile endorser now?
Oh, geez, I don't know. Who do they have?
Robert Griffin III?
Yeah, I was going to say RG3, right? Guy didn't even have a job.
The swimmer, Michael Phelps.
Does he do Subway?
He does.
I'd like to party with Michael Phelps.
Yeah.
He's a party animal. Yeah. But 30 pounds this guy put on in jail. He hasn't even been in jail that long. That's a quick 30. Oof. Lay off those boxes of honey buns. That'll do it. 866-55-PRESS is our phone number. Peter Ogburn sitting in for Bill Press. We're going to talk Flint, Michigan when we come back. Stay tuned, yes?
This is the Bill Press Show.
The hardest moments for me is when I'm laying awake in the middle of the night and I'm thinking about all the times I made a pitcher of Kool-Aid with the water, or I boiled a pot of corn or potatoes with the water. Those thoughts have stick with me in the middle of the night. And I feel horrible as a mom that I didn't know that something was wrong, but how could I have known? There's no way I would have known.
The spill at Dan River happened when a drainage pipe that ran underneath an ash basin and dam collapsed, sucking out 6 decades of waste and spewing gunk directly into the river.
My husband and I just kind of looked at each other like, should we be concerned? We live right next to an ash pond, and this was coal ash spilling into the Dan River, and we learned at that point all of the toxins that were included in coal ash.
A situation like Dan River, where there was a catastrophic disaster, gets people's attention, but the fact is that these coal ash pits have been leaking and poisoning people's groundwater and the state's surface waters for decades. Coal ash is the residue left behind after coal is burned in a coal-fired power plant. A large coal-fired power plant can burn 10 million tons of coal a year. When the organic matter in the coal is burned away, what's left behind are these trace minerals, things like arsenic, lead, mercury, selenium, and chromium. And these are highly concentrated. The coal ash can have concentrations of these contaminants that are 10 to 100 times greater than the level in the coals themselves.
Coal ash pond number 1 is right behind my house, literally pretty much in my backyard. We were approached by a neighbor who was wanting to have their well tested, and we decided that maybe we should have ours tested as well. They found hexavalent chromium at 4.5 parts per billion.
So in talking to the residents, we have discovered anecdotal evidence of an extraordinary number of cancers for this fairly small community.
Some of us in the community got together. We started kind of talking about all the cancer that we've seen in some of our family friends in this community. I think we had somewhere in the neighborhood of around 70 names. So we had some help from our river keepers putting a map together, and it was a little shocking to see it. You know, I still have a hard time looking at it.
Technically, EPA has not regulated coal ash as a hazardous waste, but it is undeniable that coal ash contains many, many hazardous substances that are hazardous, in fact, to people and the environment. And the only reason they have not been regulated as such is because of intense lobbying efforts by the coal industry and its allies.
A lot of these chemicals are simple elements, but when you find them at the levels that they exist in around coal ash ponds, then you're starting to talk about cancer, brain tumors, you're talking about birth defects, developmental problems, neurotoxicity.
We began to look at legal options, cases that we could bring in court to protect communities and their citizens from these toxic leaking time bombs. In 2002, North Carolina enacted a public financing mechanism for judicial elections. This kept private money out of judicial elections.
The repeal of the public financing program in judicial elections in North Carolina creates a dangerous precedent for all, and it gives corporate polluters and other special interests the opportunity to elect the judges that they want. And this is important for us all. Everyone should care about this, because when you think about the fact that the state and the federal government have basically abdicated their responsibility to regulate these issues, the state courts are the last stopgap.
I think this is no longer a problem that's going to go under the radar. It has been exposed, and I am confident that we will ultimately, with the facts, win out and ensure that we have protected waterways.
And so this is something that we all should care about. If we're worried about the water we drink and the air we breathe, we have to be concerned about money in judicial elections.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
Broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
It is The Bill Press Show. It's 6 minutes past the hour. My name is Peter Ogburn, sitting in for Bill Press today. Bill is off on the West Coast, doing a little bit of book promotion, so I appreciate you all tuning in and being with me. Back up, the JV, the B team. But I'm here to carry the torch for the show. We've been talking lots of good stuff today, and we're going to continue to do that. As we move through the show. Joining me in studio is Congresswoman Brenda Lawrence, representing Michigan's 14th district. She is in studio with us. Congresswoman, thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you so much. Let Bill know I missed him, but he couldn't have given me a better replacement.
Oh, you hear this? Do you hear this? Save that tape. Save that tape. That's what I want. That's what I want. No, Bill was very sorry that he couldn't be here to see you, Congresswoman, and he wanted me to pass that along. We have a lot to talk about. We have a whole lot to talk about. You're here to talk about the situation in Flint, and we are going to get right into that. But I have to ask and talk a little bit about Donald Trump, because he is sort of I'll say it, the presumptive nominee for the Republican Party. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you've heard this yet, but Andrew Cuomo from New York had his take on Donald Trump and how he's sort of spinning politics these days.
We make a long list. We write down all the immigrants on the list, and then we kick them all out. And then to make sure they don't come back, we build the wall, the big wall, a long wall, 1,000-mile wall, like the China Wall, but wider, but higher, but nicer, good-looking wall. I'm going to build a wall. Don't worry, the wall is a beautiful wall.
That's a pretty good impression, right?
That's awesome.
Isn't that good?
I think it's like Jimmy Fallon here, Andrew Cuomo, pretty close second.
He got there.
Second, as far as impressions go.
I tell you, he nailed it.
Yeah, and you know, we on this side of the aisle, I mean, I know that we get frustrated and outraged at the fact that Donald Trump is leading the Republican Party, but there's sometimes we just have to look at just the absurdity of it all.
Yes. I have labeled it that I'm living through the reality show.
Right. It feels like
presidential campaign. It's a reality show, but I am, as an American citizen, subjected to playing this game. It is just, oh my God.
It's the weirdest time. It is the weirdest time for us to be involved in covering and watching politics.
Being a member of Congress and, knowing the day-to-day challenges, responsibility, and the seriousness of the challenges that we have in America, it's scary to think that the American public will put someone so unqualified and someone who demonstrates every single day the lack of depth of understanding the concept of government and,
Yeah.
and diplomacy and decorum. If the way that he has displayed himself to date, we would be in a world war.
Without a doubt.
Within 3 months.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. I think you're absolutely right.
Because you cannot conduct yourself or speak the way that you do, that he has demonstrated. It may be funny, it may be a nice entertainment.
Sure.
But the presidency of the United States of America, one of the most powerful countries in the world, cannot be governed that way.
It sort of reached a point where it's just not that funny anymore.
Yeah.
You know, like now that we're essentially, if he does become the nominee, we're one vote away.
Yes.
One vote away
Mhm.
from him being a president.
Yes.
And that should scare the hell out of everybody, Democrats and Republicans. All right, we have lots to talk about. I want to jump right into the situation in Flint with you in just a moment. But first, headline.
This is the Full
Jamie
Court
Benson.
Press.
Just a couple of other stories for you on this Thursday morning. We're talking about a very serious issue with the Congresswoman coming up. Another very serious issue is the Zika virus. Well, some positive news out of an internet giant. Google has announced that they will be giving a $1 million grant to UNICEF to help combat the spread of Zika in Brazil and
good for
throughout
them.
Latin America. Yeah, so the grant is earmarked to raise awareness of the virus, reduce mosquito populations, develop diagnostics and vaccines, and work with communities and governments to prevent disease transmission. Google has assigned a team of engineers, data scientists, and designers that are going to work with UNICEF to look at data such as weather and travel patterns. Also, Google, their search function is going to add information about Zika in 16 different languages, which provides a thorough overview of the virus. So good for Google.
I think that's good. I think that's great that they're putting money at that problem.
Absolutely. Yesterday, we talked about astronaut Scott Kelly returning to Earth.
Guy spent a year in space.
340 days in space.
Isn't that crazy?
He set a U.S. record up there in the great beyond. He landed in Kazakhstan yesterday, right? Or the other day, Tuesday, when it was.
Very, very late on Tuesday, yeah.
Finally arrived in Houston early Thursday morning. We got the notes from the White House this morning. Dr. Jill Biden was there as well.
The big thing was to see the effect that space would have on the human body for that long.
So, exactly.
So did he come back with, like, webbed hands?
No webbed hands, no webbed hands, no webbed feet. But Scott Kelly did grow 2 inches during his time in space.
Wow. No.
NASA's Jeff Williams says...
Really?
Yeah, NASA's Jeff Williams says astronauts get taller in space as the spine elongates. But don't worry, he's going to go right back...
Oh, I guess it'll compact down
to
again.
the same height as his twin brother. So it'll take just a short time for him to go back
Isn't
to his
that
regular
weird?
height. Yeah.
2 inches he grew over 340. That's wild, man. Yeah. That's all you need to do, Jamie. You just get a little taller and you go to space for a year.
Oh, you say I need to get taller?
I'm not saying you.
short?
I'm just saying anybody.
I see
I'm
what
not
you're saying,
you.
Peter. No, I get it. That's fine.
Okay. Let's talk about Flint.
Yes.
We talk about it a lot on this show, and it's something that we think more people should spend more time talking about. It is a very, very, very serious issue. And if you think that it's not, or that you don't have to talk about it, wait till it happens to your city.
Oh, jeez.
Okay?
Let's pray it never happens.
Let's pray. Honestly, I hope it never happens, but like this is a real problem that we've got to deal with.
Yes.
So, Congresswoman, you are here. Congresswoman Brenda Lawrence, representing Michigan, the 14th district. You're here to talk about Speak Out. Speak Out. It's something that you are sort of taking part in here with other members of the Congressional Progressive Caucus.
In the Progressive Black Caucus.
Our people.
Yes.
You are our people, by the way.
Yes.
To really shed some light on here. What's the plan here?
Just to talk about the Congressional Progressive Caucus. When I came to Congress, you're in the bubble. It's the legislation, it's the world of policy. The Republicans and the Democrats, and I long for that passion for the voice of the people. And when I learned about the Progressive Caucus, I understood for me, if you're going to be an effective legislator, you must know what's going on. You must hear the voice of the people and fight for those issues. As others sometimes get caught in the high grass.
Mhm.
Somebody has to be on the ground.
Yeah.
And so I'm proud to be a member of the Progressive Caucus. I'm going to give you some history on this Flint. I know you heard it, but just to take us to where we are now. So in Michigan, we have what we call an emergency manager. If a city does not make its financial obligation, the state takes over the city. And when they take over, all the elected officials are stripped of their power. They cannot. So all the people that were elected by the people of that community now have no power. And this emergency manager does not report to the people, is not held accountable by the people, report only to the governor.
Okay, on its face, I see some problems with that plan.
Oh, do you?
Yeah,
Do you?
I mean that sounds like a terrible, terrible plan. So this has obviously created the problem.
So the bottom line responsibility of an emergency manager who reports only to the governor is to financially restructure the city. And every single emergency manager have gone into cities and just made some decisions that the community totally opposed.
Oh.
We had one emergency manager had put the parks of the city up for sale for developers to buy.
What?
Yes, because it would make money. It would increase the bottom line. So
That makes me so angry.
Oh, can you imagine how the citizens of these cities
my God,
feel when this happens?
That's the most frustrating thing.
And then the bad part about it, this was an elected official, and they did that. The community would come out and tell them, we will vote you out of office,
Right.
Or
No.
we will recall you. You can't do that with an emergency manager.
My head is going to explode.
Okay, so
Get the duct tape. Get the duct tape so I can duct tape my head because it's going to explode.
So this emergency manager went into Flint and said that the water bill in the city of Flint was too high, and if we reduce that water bill, we could have more money. So the city of Flint was getting clean water from the city of Detroit, which supplies water to a multitude of cities. It switched to the Flint River, which everyone who lived in that city knew was polluted. It was awful. You just look at it. You don't do anything with it. You don't fish. You don't swim. That in itself was not a crime. However, they did not treat the water. So here you have a polluted water system and you didn't treat it. EPA came in and said, wait a minute, what's happening here? Your water toxins levels are not in compliance. They said, oh, we're treating it. So EPA goes about its business.
Oh, God.
All the time, the Flint people are drinking this water. So then EPA says again, wait a minute, we tested again, and it's not going down. If you were treating it, it should be going down. So anyway, this went on for 1 year and 3 months. All this time, people are drinking the water.
Drinking, bathing, there's kids in it, all of that.
So let me tell you the crime, then I'm going to get to the speak out. The crime of this, children's birth to 6, their brain is developing. One of the things lead does is attacks the brain cells. When lead attacks the brain, it kills the brain cell. So you have children who are developing, and you are now altered this child's life. So all those mothers who were breastfeeding and hydrating, drinking water, and lovingly feeding their baby, they're giving them lead. The mothers who were using formula and mixing it with water.
Yeah, sure.
Lead. And the children, the food, everything.
So I just have to say, that is the best explanation of the situation. And we've talked about it a lot.
Mm-hmm.
That's the best explanation I've heard for what is actually going on in Flint. And if you are a citizen anywhere else in the country,
yes,
and you hear this story, you should be just as outraged.
Yes.
I mean, that is outrageous.
So there's a couple things.
So let's do something about it.
Yes. So the governor, in his state of the state, stood up and said, I'm sorry. The buck stops with me, and I'm going to fix it.
Uh-huh.
Well, so let's talk about what's happening now. For 1 year and 3 months, people have been drinking this water.
Yeah.
The people who can move did move. There have been testing of children to find out their lead levels because they got to create a registry. So
Sure.
these children need early, and they need Head Start, because Head Start shows if you stimulate the brain early, it enhances.
Sure.
Let me tell you something that was really interesting I found out. They said every child in Flint should be required to take music, because when you study music, it stimulates a different part of your brain.
I
So
agree.
understand, we don't use all of our brain.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
well, not all of us.
Not all
Some of us are
Some of us do.
some of us are highly gifted, Congresswoman.
I know. I'm sorry. I sit in your presence.
Yeah, I mean, come on.
What was I thinking? So the more that you can stimulate other parts of the brain, the better chance this child has to a normal life. We got to have Head Start. We've got to have healthy food. Guess what? City of Flint, the last 2 grocery stores shut down. All they have are the little independent 7-Elevens and those.
Have you ever tried to get healthy food in the 7-Eleven?
You try. But if
Not
you
gonna
do,
happen.
if you try to get a banana or apple, it's going to be $3 or $4. You
Sure.
can go to McDonald's and get a Happy Meal,
Sure.
right?
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right. That's a big problem.
So So when I was in Flint, there is a farmer's market, but it's downtown. And some of the parents there said, look, I don't have a car. I have to get my kids on a bus, ride downtown, get the vegetables. Yep. It's a day event.
It's a whole thing. Yeah, absolutely.
To get so anyway, we gotta work on that. We gotta get healthy nutrition. Teachers are going to have to be trained on the behavior changes, because lead affects behavior of these children in the classroom, so that they can adequately. The members of Congress, the Congressional Black Caucus, the Congressional Progressive Caucus, are so angry about this. So understand this concept. That's a reality. But it's called environmental injustice. Think about the places where there's environmental crisis. It's normally in poor areas, mining towns, rural areas. Then there is usually is poor and largely minority. So the people with the smallest voice are usually the victims of these horrific environmental situations.
And that's part of the reason that it gets ignored.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean,
yes.
That's been the story for a long, long time.
And, we can't prove it, but there's so many
Our
people
eyes don't
in
lie.
America. So many people are saying if this was a rich, affluent area, this would have happened. They would have never switched a water source without documenting and following every single step to make sure that water is safe. Today, the water is still not safe to drink.
Oh.
They're treating it, but they're using filters and bottled water.
Okay, we have to hit a break because we're right up against it. But we're going to come back, and I want to talk a little bit more about Speak Out. Great stuff from Congresswoman Brenda Lawrence, who's really breaking down the situation in Flint and telling us what it's like on the ground in Flint, Michigan. We've got more to talk about when we come back. Stay tuned. Peter Ogburn sitting in for Bill Press.
Get social with Bill Press. Like us at facebook.com/Bill Press Show. This is The Bill Press Show.
Today, in this country, we are having a conversation about police violence, the killing of black men, and what all that means. It is sad that this is happening and that every day there's a new incident to cause us to keep thinking about it and talking about it. But it is extraordinary that the American people are having to deal with this every day, whether you're watching CNN or MSNBC, Fox, or ABC News. All the news channels are talking about police violence and what does that mean against black people. Many people probably look at that, certainly have looked at it in the past, and they have said that these poor black men are doing bad things, and that's why they are ending up in confrontations with police. without any understanding of their lives of these poor black young men. Part of what has been going on for decades is that poor black people live in communities that suffer from hyper surveillance of the police. The police are more likely to be in their communities. The police are more likely to arrest them. The police are more likely to stop them even if they're not doing anything. And that is what is so hard for the American people to believe, that you would get stopped and searched and arrested by the police and not doing anything. But this is starting to come out as people are telling the stories over and over again. But this has been the condition, this hyper surveillance by police, making it more likely for people to get a record, to be known by the police, and then once they get in the system, it is almost impossible to get out because of the whole system of being on parole and missing an appointment or fraternizing with a person who has a criminal record, getting you right back in the jail, and then going back again and again and again. This is coming to be seen by the American people in a way that it has never been seen before. But why are people in these communities in the first place? That's getting peeled away. People are there because of housing discrimination. They are there because this is the only place where affordable housing can be found. They are there because that's where their families live, and people are drawn to being in communities where they are comfortable. The combination keeps people in these low-income communities where they are an easy target for hyper surveillance and then everything that comes from it. And so as we think about these issues, we have to understand that while you as an individual in this society, as a white individual, you may not carry personal racism, but that does not keep the system from operating in a racist way.
I grew up in the housing projects of Cleveland. I didn't even know that life could be any better than it was. Education for me has been a way to get away from the agony of what was normal life. I want to be able to impact the community, not just look back on where I came from, but to reach back to where I came from and pull some people up with me. My name is David, and I am your dividend.
This is the Bill Press Show.
It is the Bill Press Show. My name is Peter Ogburn, sitting in for Bill Press, along with Congresswoman Brenda Lawrence from Michigan's 14th District. Coming up, there is a Democratic debate in Flint, Michigan. But before that, there's a Speak Out event that you will be taking part in Flint. Tell us about that, Congresswoman.
Yes, it's about 40 members of Congress. We're flying in tonight to Flint. Tomorrow, we are going to meet with the citizens of Flint. We want to hear from them, not for the members of Congress to give speeches. This is to hear what's going on. Then we're going to the emergency command center because we have put so many federal resources into Flint to see how it's working. Are they taking care of the needs of the people there?
I think that's great for you to do on a lot of levels. One of the most important was just to reassure the people of Flint.
Exactly.
We hear you. We want to figure this out. We have
violated the trust of the people in Flint, and they need to know we are there for them.
Well, we're going to keep following this story. We hope that you'll come back here and keep us abreast of what's going on because, I mean, this is something that we care about and we want to keep after it. And good luck up there. Send our good wishes to Flint.
I will.
And keep up the good work, Congresswoman.
Okay.
All right, Congresswoman Brenda Lawrence joining us here on the Bill Press Show. My name is Peter Ogburn. I'm sitting in for Bill Press. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more about, as the Congresswoman put it, this reality TV show we're living in of Donald Trump. So stay tuned. It's the Bill Press Show. Very quick break. We'll be right back.
This is the Bill Press Show.
I have run these canyons for 6 million years. I have traveled from the Rocky Mountains to the deserts, through scorching heat and freezing cold, from the land of the dinosaurs to fields of food.
I lend my hand to 7 states, 2 countries, 9 national parks,
and 36 million people across an arid West.
I am not the strongest or the largest, but I am the hardest working.
People love me.
My playfulness,
My beauty,
my power,
my life. But I don't think I can offer any more.
I am tired.
I am tired,
tapped,
and tied. Of the hundreds of major rivers in the world, I am one of the few who no longer kisses the sea.
Battles to harness my soul have been won and lost. Use me wisely, and I will sustain you.
Use me like you have, and I will break. My name
is
Red. The Grand River Red. The American Nile.
The Canyon Maker. I am the Colorado River.
And I am the most endangered river in America.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. You know, but it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, you know, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Your place to talk about the 2016 election. This is the Bill Press Show.
Yes, indeed, it is the Bill Press Show. 33 minutes past the hour. My name is Peter Ogburn, sitting in for Bill Press today. You can follow the show on Twitter at BP Show. You can follow me at Peter Ogburn. You can follow Jamie at J Benson DC.
Nothing in the mail sack yet.
Damn it. We always get so many, it's a piece of viewer mail whenever we give out your Twitter handle.
Very disappointing.
LL Cool J. Ladies love Cool Jamie. Although it's not ladies, though. It's usually your demo is the gay man.
Small detail.
But, take it where you can get it, man. I'm all for it. By the way, I love that Congresswoman that was just in here, Congresswoman Brenda Lawrence, and her rundown of the situation in Flint was so good. We're chopping it up, and we're going to put it out there. Don't cost nothing. We're going to put it out on SoundCloud a little bit later on. I also love when these Congress people come in when I'm hosting, and they think they're talking to Bill Press, and then they end up getting me. Like, there's a look of fear in their eyes of like, oh, God, what did I do? It's pretty great. I kind of live for those moments.
Just if they looked at your Twitter account beforehand.
Oh, God. That garbage fire known as my Twitter feed? No, stay away. Hey, let's talk to a big brain, correspondent for Time Magazine and author of the great book, Broad Influence, How Women Are Changing the Way America Works. You know I'm a big fan of women. I have all their albums. Jay Newton-Small joins us. She's live from, where are you, Jay? Can we say where you are?
Yep, I'm in Dallas, Texas, Peter.
Dallas, Texas. Thanks so much for joining me. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me on.
Talk about a Twitter feed worth following. JN Small. Follow her on Twitter. Just what a delight.
Thank you.
So let's talk. While you're down in Texas, let's talk about the big state there for Ted Cruz. His biggest achievement on Super Tuesday was winning Texas in a big way. But what does that mean moving forward, I guess, that he can win his home state?
Well, so I was actually at his victory party 2 nights ago in Houston, Texas, at a place called the Redneck Country Club, which
sounds great. Boy, am I just sad I missed that.
Very apt for Ted Cruz in this state. So Ted Cruz had really sold what they called the SEC primary, which is for all the southern states, as his kind of firewall, that he was going to really clean up in this primary. He told CNN in December that he was going to win, or thought he would win or do very, very well in, sweep the South, kind of, Arkansas, Tennessee, Alabama, and he ended up only winning Texas and Oklahoma in the South, and then later on Alaska. And so it was not the sort of blowout that he had promised. And while it did help him to win his state definitively, and he now argues that when states get to know him well, like here in Texas and in Iowa, where he spent a ton of time and won in Iowa, that people will choose him over Donald Trump. But it didn't actually deliver him the kind of big enough blowout that he needed to challenge Trump. So he's still kind of trailing it, and what he really needs now is to have the other people in the race, essentially John Kasich of Ohio and Marco Rubio of Florida, to drop out and kind of consolidate the anti-Trump vote, which is looking very unlikely. So
yeah, what I love about this is there's no way these guys are going to drop out. There's no, like, maybe Kasich will, but he'll at least ride it to Ohio. But like Marco Rubio ain't getting out.
And that's the thing, is that this race has just gotten so acrimonious between all these guys that, like, if they were buddies, if they were somehow still civil to each other, then maybe they might consider, for the good of the party, kind of dropping out. But they've all done and said things to each other that they hate each other so much right now. It's just not going to happen.
That's actually a really good point, because I know that campaigns can get kind of ugly, right? And people said that the primary between Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton was just so nasty. And, will the party ever be able to come back together again? And the party did just fine. But
last time around was just, they were interrupting each other, the sort of famous, the famous kind of takeaway from it was the closed captioning where it says inaudible, unintelligible yelling, right?
That sums it up.
Pretty much. And so it's so unbelievably nasty, and it just doesn't bode very well for a general. It's going to be even nastier in a general election. It's just this unbelievable kind of very mean election. It's the opposite of hope and change, as David Plouffe pointed out recently in I think in an article or a story that somebody was quoted. He was saying, in 2008 there was all hope and change, and now it's like mean and nasty.
At the heart of all this, of course, is the Republican frontrunner and presumptive nominee, Donald Trump. And we had a conversation earlier, right? Like, I have like a little devil on one shoulder, a little angel on the other, of whether or not Democrats should be happy about the fact that Republicans are stuck with Donald Trump, or are sad or should feel like they have to intervene in some way, which is exactly what you wrote about. Democrats salivate and shudder at the prospect of Trump. Your piece in Time, where Democrats fall on someone like Donald Trump. So what's the feeling out there, Jay?
Well, so I spoke to a lot of party leaders, including the Clinton campaign and other folks, and there's this sense that, Donald Trump, to some degree, is already helping Hillary Clinton because, in Massachusetts, for example, it's a state where when I was there right after the New Hampshire primary, I was talking to people in Massachusetts and to sort of wise old men in the Massachusetts Democratic Party, and they were saying if the election were held today, Bernie Sanders would absolutely win Massachusetts. And he blew out New Hampshire, which is just to the north of Massachusetts, by more than 20 points. And so Hillary actually ended up winning Massachusetts on Super Tuesday by just a point. It was by barely winning it, but she did win it, which is a huge swing because, basically she was down arguably by double digits 2 weeks ago, right? And that's because people in Massachusetts looked at Donald Trump consolidating the Republican vote and said, oh, my God, we have to defeat Donald Trump.
Yeah, yeah.
And so they went to the person they thought was most likely to defeat Donald Trump, and that is Hillary Clinton. And so to some degree, it's helping Hillary. It's helping party unity. It's helping because Democrats are so freaked out at the idea of, oh, my God, President Trump, that they are picking Hillary because they feel she has a better chance of beating him. And part of them think, okay, he's got to be beatable, right? The meme is he's insulted everybody on the planet,
yeah.
Except for maybe white men. He's insulted women, he's insulted Latinos, he's insulted African Americans, veterans of John McCain. So there's no way he expands his base beyond white men, essentially, right? That's the sort of conventional wisdom of Washington.
Yep.
But Washington conventional wisdom is nothing in this campaign.
Not a thing. No, it doesn't count for anything anymore.
And so the fear then is if we know nothing, if Washington knows nothing, and conventional wisdom is on his head, he's managed to he does expand the electorate enormously. Voting in Republican primaries was up in some places over 100% from 2008, which was also an open seat. You remember, there was a lot of people who voted in 2008, so it's a huge number of people voting in Republican primaries. So maybe he turns the whole thing on its head, expands the electorate, and maybe he does win. So that's also terrifying, right?
Oh, my God. Oh, my God. It is. No, it totally is. I think that's the sort of conundrum. With the time that we have left, Jay Newton Small from Time and the author of the great book, Broad Influence, talk to me about this master plan to take Trump down, which is going to be headed up by, of all people, Mitt Romney later on today, who's going to give his anti-Trump speech, and whether or not this is going to have any impact on the race.
I can't imagine that Mitt Romney coming out against Trump and the establishment coming out against Trump. Every time somebody in the establishment has come out against Trump, it just helps him because the whole thing is that he harnesses the anti-establishment forces, right? Yeah. So the more the establishment comes out against him, the stronger he becomes. And so I just feel like it's, I can't even imagine what Mitt Romney could possibly say about Donald Trump that would be a disqualifier, especially because Mitt Romney's hardly like the attack dog, right?
Right.
This is a guy who's like kind of Mr. Nice Guy.
Yeah. This is the funniest thing. It's going to blow up so bad, mostly because it's Mitt Romney.
There's who else is there at this point, right?
No, that's a good. They put Tom DeLay out. Tom DeLay was out talking about the damage that Donald Trump would have on the country, and that's a guy that knows about inflicting damage on the country. And they put Tom. I was screaming, laughing when I saw him out there. It's crazy, but you're right. They have nobody.
Yeah, and again, the more you go against him, the stronger he gets. It's it's sort of this inverse. And so I don't know. Whether they resign themselves. What they should do is consolidate the anti-Trump vote, which is something that Marco Rubio made the point yesterday that 65% of people consistently in most primaries vote against Donald Trump. The problem is you're splitting it 3 or 4 ways.
Right.
And until you consolidate that, which it's almost far too late at this point. He has this delegate lead that is very hard to overcome. Yep. But until you consolidate that behind one person, then you're really going to get not a President Trump, but because he is to still win a general election, but you're definitely going to get a nominee Trump. And so rather than Mitt Romney coming out and going against Trump, what he should do is come out and endorse somebody, and they should all endorse somebody, and they should throw all the resources behind that person and get the other people out of the race and see if that person can actually manage to overcome Donald Trump's lead.
That makes a lot of sense to me, but it's who knows what's going to happen. All right, Jay Newton Small, correspondent for Time Magazine and author of the book Broad Influence: How Women Are Changing the Way America Works. Go follow her on Twitter at JNSmall. I do, and I'm sure glad that I did. Thanks, Jay. I appreciate it. Safe travels.
Thanks, Peter. Talk to you soon.
See you back in studio here soon, I hope. And more of the Bill Press Show continues with me, your humble host, Peter Ogburn. Stay tuned.
Connect with The Bill Press Show on Twitter. Follow us at BP Show and tweet using the hashtag WatchingBP. This is The Bill Press Show.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay, so who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
I wanted to find a bank with a purpose. I wanted to find a place that would take my money and not use it to cause the financial crisis, but to fix the financial crisis and to help end income inequality.
The people that we employ are usually clients right off the streets. They don't have an account, but Amalgamated is willing to get that started for them.
Their reputation supporting the working man, I think, speaks for itself. This is a bank that cares for their customers, and I appreciate that.
We were able to access a construction loan through the bank's programs, and that loan has helped us house 28 families in the community.
Amalgamated is a bank that was started for and about working people.
Many of our customers have a deep commitment to advocating for social and economic justice. We share that commitment, and we're not afraid to stand up and say that we need to change some of the way that the country does business.
Calls me googly eyes.
You know you're beautiful, right? You know that?
Even you are beautiful. I got bullied for wearing glasses. Share if you're against bullying.
We put it out there, just took off. 3 million people have shared this post. Don't let bullies get you down. I stand with you. The whole family's wearing glasses. I wear glasses and I'm proud.
I even have the army on my team.
All the kind comments brought my child joy. I don't feel thank you is enough.
That's
Right now at youtube.com/TawkrTV. That's TAWKR-TV. This is The Bill Press Show.
It is The Bill Press Show, 40 minutes past the hour. My name is Peter Ogburn, hosting for The Bill Press Show today. You can follow the show at BP Show on Twitter. By the way, one thing that we haven't talked about a whole lot here on the program is a great new feature that we offer. If you're following us on Twitter at BP Show or following us on SoundCloud, it's the BP in 3. is what we're calling it. It is where we take the entire 3-hour show and Jamie sits down and he edits all the highlights into a 3-minute little sizzle reel, and you can go listen to it. So we highly encourage you to listen to the entire show. But after the show, Jamie sits down and he puts together this 3-minute. It's phenomenal. It's so good what he's done. No, it's good. I'm just saying it's a good, like you should go and listen to it. Follow us on Twitter. It comes out about like an hour after the show, and it's out there. You should go listen. It's called the BP in 3, and it's the highlights from the show.
Just not today.
No, don't do it. Look, we only do it when Bill is here. We only do it, to be clear. So like when Bill's out, we don't do it. But when Bill's here,
we'll give you the full podcast from today.
Go listen. Yeah, we'll give you the full. That didn't cost it. That don't cost nothing. And then go look at the timeline. You can see the previous BP in 3s with Bill here. You can hear the one from yesterday, which was great. It's one of the best ones he's done. Jamie Benson there. So good work. Did you have a story you wanted to get to?
Yeah, I did. You know, we were so excited to get to the Congresswoman this morning. We missed one last full court story. I'm not going to play the music or anything, but Peter, I have a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever had a itch that you can't scratch?
Yeah.
Specifically in your nose?
Specifically in my nose? Yeah. Yes.
I get stuffed up a lot.
Yeah, sure.
So,
Yes, totally.
Well, a 5-year-old out in California told her mom that she had this pain in her nose, and she started having this constant green runny nose.
Oh, God.
And it smelled horrific. It was a terrible
Jesus.
smell.
God, I know. Oh.
This was over 6 months. So her mom, this is 5-year-old Chloe Russell, and her mother, Caitlin Powell, took her daughter to 3 different ear and nose specialists.
Okay.
Each one of them said, it's nothing other than a sinus infection. But this thing goes on for 6 months until young Chloe blows her nose.
No. What is it?
And a 1.5-inch long safety pin.
Ah, God!
Pops out.
No!
And I if you're a fan
this
of...
This girl's 5?
5 years old. If you're a fan of morbid stuff like this, go online and search just girl safety pin 6 months.
No!
It's so rusty looking.
I'm gonna gag. Oh, don't. Stop. That's so bad.
So at first, she blows her nose, it comes out, they take her to the doctor, whatever. First, the 5-year-old acts clueless, like, oh, I don't know how this happened.
Yeah.
Then finally, she later admits that she'd found a bag of safety pins and was playing around with them, quote, to see how far she could put the pins up her nose.
Oh, Jesus Christ, Jamie.
I have a feeling this girl, by the time she's like 21 years old, she's going to be tatted up. Tons of piercings.
Yeah. See how far she can take everything. Oh, I hate that story.
Yeah.
God, do I hate that story. Thank you for bringing that to me. I haven't had any weird, things like that with my kids. They haven't done anything goofy like that. I mean, I'm not out of the woods yet, but boy, oh boy, we made it past that period of time. All right. Thank you for that. By the way, Bernie and Hillary still out on the campaign trail. Neither one of them show any signs of slowing down whatsoever. Hillary was out there yesterday. She's sort of got one eye fully on the general election, where she talked about making America whole again. It's not about making America great again. That's sort of where she's going with that, which I think is really good. Meanwhile, Bernie, where was he? Was he in Vermont yesterday?
No, he was in Portland, Maine.
Portland, Maine.
My hometown.
Portland, Maine. Well, here's the thing. He was introduced by a guy named John Fishman, who plays with the band Fish.
Formerly Vermont guys. Now John is now living in Maine.
All right, so here's what Bernie said after he was introduced by Fish.
John and Fish have made New England proud. They are one of the great bands, have been one of the great bands in this country. So, John, we thank you very much.
Hashtag I'm with her. Hashtag I'm voting for Hillary now.
Oh, no.
No. Fish? No. Fish, one of the greatest bands? I don't think so. Bernie. Bruh. No thank you. Keep Fish out of politics. Boy, do I hate that band. And I've seen that band in concert several times, by the way, when I was a younger, more misguided man. Whoa, what a terrible band they are. All right. 53 minutes past the hour. My name is Peter Ogburn. I am sitting in for Bill Press. We've got one more quick segment when we come back. Stay tuned.
Follow us on Twitter @BP Show. This is The Bill Press Show.
For my 6th birthday, my grandpa gave me a Rubik's Cube. I'll always be able to remember its edges, hold it in my hands, heft the weight of an overwhelming problem. I remember him telling me about it. How Rubik's Cube has 43 quintillion, 252 quadrillion, 3 trillion, 274 billion, 489,856,000 possibilities. He told me it can be really confusing sometimes. But to look at the center squares as a reminder of what color each side should be. Shift. We're celebrating his 50th wedding anniversary. He and Grandma are dancing a dance that only fragile legs and wrinkled hands know how to. That type of happiness took him 70 years to earn. The white side of the cube is solved. Shift. He tells me about how he met Grandma. His college friends had a sunset picnic. She was there, as beautiful as an unsolved puzzle. She was a red-headed scramble on an orange tile sky. Shift. The walls of the hospital are blue. The nurses explain that his memories had become jumbled. Strangers in family portraits, pictures with mismatched faces. Alzheimer's has made his mind into a Rubik's Cube. Shift. He's a highway patrolman. His car is white. No, it's blue. He worked there for 30 years. Some nights he still does. Time is a complicated algorithm. Shift. The pills he holds are yellow and red and green. The weight of their color causes his hand to drop. I try to shift his tiles back into place, but people don't have center squares. His mind is a hospital bed divided by 0. Shift. My sister's wedding is white, but he doesn't know why. Shift. World War II is every color. The South Pacific is blue. The islands are green. There is so much red. Shift. Grandpa, table, cube, name, scramble, California, guitar, grapefruit, highway, wedding bell, war, stick shift rifles, South Pacific mirrors. Shift, 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 shift. The temperature of his hands is blue. Death is colorless. I will always remember his edges. Hold him in my hands. Heft the weight of an overwhelming problem. I was unable to attend his funeral. I never found out the algorithm to solve him. A Rubik's Cube has over 43 quintillion possibilities. A casket only has one.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Jimmy, can I have Obama one more time saying "Roll Tide" yesterday?
No, you cannot.
It's not like I get to host the show very often, and it's not very often that I get to host the show after the national champions of college football showed up at the White House. So whenever Barack Obama says,
"Welcome to the White House, Roll Tide,"
Roll Tide. Yeah, that's all I want. That's all I want. That made me happy. That's all. I just want to make happy. That's all. All right, look. What a day we have on tap today. Later on, Mitt Romney is going to be unleashing a full-scale war against Donald Trump in a very polite and confused manner, as only Mitt Romney can do. We're going to have the full remarks tomorrow. We'll have everything cut up so you can hear it if you don't get a chance to hear it. It's going to be great. I mean, I really can't wait. It's going to fall so flat that Donald Trump is just going to laugh his way all the way to the nomination.
More importantly, we have beer tomorrow, something that Mitt Romney does not partake
Does not drink that strong drink. All right, we'll be drinking beer here tomorrow with guest host Igor Volsky. So tune in for that. Thanks for watching. Appreciate it.
This is the Bill Press Show.